Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 2788. Ling Yunfei watched this scene with a smile and didn't speak from beginning to end. Because he didn't care about any greeting gifts at all. As long as Qin Feiyang could come back safely, that was more important than anything else. Zhao Shuang smiled and said, Yan endure the pain. Mother will drip blood for you. Okay. The little girl nodded. Zhao Shuang urged a wisp of divine power and gently scratched the little girl's fingertip. A bloody wound appeared. Immediately. A drop of blood fell on the soul anchoring pearl. After the blood merged with the soul anchoring pearl, Zhao Shuang looked at the little girl and said with a smile, now you only need to think about it, and the soul anchoring pearl will enter your body. Really? The little girl asked in surprise. Zhao Shuang nodded. The little girl stared at the soul anchoring pearl. With a thought, the soul anchoring pearl immediately turned into a stream of light and disappeared between her eyebrows. It's so fun. The little girl suddenly became playful. She put it away for a while and took it out for a while, playing with it happily. Ling Yunfei shook his head and smiled, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, the children of this generation are so happy. Happy? Qin Feiyang was stunned. See? They were born carefree, as long as they have fun. Unlike us, who suffered thousands of disasters and struggled painfully. Especially the few of us children. They were born to enjoy treatment that others don't have. Because of our relationship, no matter where they go, they are respected. For example, now you give this little girl a divine artifact. Even in the entire great Qin Empire, a divine artifact is a supreme item. But now, you are playing with this little girl like a toy. Isn't this happier than us? Ling Yunfei said with a smile. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly and said, this confirms the old saying, the predecessors plant trees, the descendants enjoy the shade. Ling Yunfei shook his head and said, but living in such an environment may not be a good thing for them. That depends on how you educate them. We are all people who have been through this before. We know how dangerous it is to be a hedonistic son of rich parents. Thus, we cannot allow our descendants to walk the path of hedonistic sons. Even more so, we cannot let them be like the other martial marquises, living under the protection and light of their ancestors. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Ling Yunfei nodded and said with a smile, but for now, our children like Lu Xiaofei, Lu Xiaojia, and Situ Feiyang are all okay. I can see that too. Now, there's only Fatso and Li Yan's child. I haven't seen it yet. Qin Feiyang said. This kid's personality is similar to his father's. Although he's a little shameless, he has a good heart. Ling Yunfei smiled. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. Like father, like son. Zhao Shuang suddenly looked at Ling Yunfei and frowned. Where's the fish I asked you to catch? Fish? Ling Yunfei was slightly stunned and suddenly patted his head. He hurriedly looked at Zhao Shuang and said with a flattering smile, my wife, I'm sorry. I just saw Qin Feiyang and I was a little excited, so, then what are you still waiting for? Zhao Shuang said. Yes, I'll go right away. Ling Yunfei quickly got up and ran to the lake. This kid is really henpecked. White-eyed Wolf snickered. That's good. Qin Feiyang smiled. The tremella soup is here. After a while. Lu Ji came out with a small pot. Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia followed behind with bowls and spoons. It smells good. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. I'm not bragging. Grandma Lu Ji's tremella soup is really delicious. Lu Xiaofei said. How can it be so exaggerated? It's just some pollen. Lu Ji shook her head, filled a bowl, and handed it to Qin Feiyang, saying, here, try it. Thank you, Auntie. Qin Feiyang took the small bowl, took a spoon, and took a bite. The taste was really good. It was sweet but not greasy, with a little floral fragrance. "Where's Yunfei?" Lu Ji looked around and asked suspiciously. "He was driven by his wife to catch fish." White-Eyed Wolf laughed. Lu Ji shook her head and then sat opposite Qin Feiyang, looking at Qin Feiyang lovingly. Dong! Soon. Ling Yunfei rushed out of the lake with a big fish and landed in front of the yard. Seeing that everyone was eating, he said unhappily, "Why didn't you wait for me?" "Why should I wait for you?" Lu Ji rolled her eyes at him. "My dear mother, I'm your son." Ling Yunfei cried sadly. "And then?" Lu Ji looked at him in amusement. Ling Yunfei said unhappily, "Shouldn't you be nicer to me? Am I not good to you? I cook for you all day, wash your clothes, and take care of your children. Don't be discontent." Lu Ji rolled her eyes. Ling Yunfei mumbled, "That's because you forced us to give birth to her." "You're right, aren't you? Then from today onwards, you'll starve." Lu Ji said. "No, no, no. I was wrong, I was wrong. Mother, please forgive me." Ling Yunfei waved his hands repeatedly. Qin Feiyang looked at this scene, his face full of envy and desire. What a wonderful life. Everyone sat together and chatted for a while. Lu Ji looked at the sky, got up, and said with a smile, "Yunfei, wash the fish later. I'll cook some dishes for you two tonight." "Okay." Ling Yunfei nodded. "Auntie, don't be busy. I've already told my sister and the others that we'll gather at Butterfly Valley tonight." Qin Feiyang smiled. Butterfly Valley? Lu Ji was stunned. "The more the merrier," Qin Feiyang said. "It seems that I haven't visited them for a long time. Okay, I'll go and prepare. Bring this fish with you too." After Lu Ji said that, she got up and cleaned the table, then went to the backyard to get busy. Ling Yunfei leaned over to Qin Feiyang and whispered, "You've already met Ren Wushuang and the others?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Ling Yunfei said with a sneaky smile, "Don't you feel particularly stunned when you see them now?" "Particularly stunned?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "What do you mean?" "Damn. It's been hundreds of years. Why are you still like a piece of wood? If you continue like this, you'll definitely be single forever." Ling Yunfei shook his head in disdain. Qin Feiyang was stunned, but then he understood Ling Yunfei's meaning. He said speechlessly, "I don't think you've changed. You still like to fool around like a white-eyed wolf. Is this fooling around? You really don't understand at all. What a good woman. I feel pity for you." Ling Yunfei shook his head. "Pity? Then do you want me to give them to you?" Zhao Shuang'er couldn't help but keep quiet. But when she heard the last sentence, she couldn't help but smile at Ling Yunfei and ask. "Give them to me?" "Okay." Ling Yunfei instinctively replied. But as soon as he finished speaking, he realized that something was wrong and quickly looked at Zhao Shuang'er. "You bastard. I didn't expect you to have feelings for Sister Ling, and the others. See how I'll deal with you today." Zhao Shuang'er flipped out. Ling Yunfei naturally didn't have a good time. He kept begging his wife for mercy. "I can see that the one who is most afraid of his wife is this guy." White-Eyed Wolf leaned over to Qin Feiyang's ear and whispered. "You have to control him like this. Otherwise, with his personality, it's hard to guarantee that he won't cause any trouble." Qin Feiyang was gloating the whole time. In the evening, the sky gradually darkened. The night of February was still a little cold. However, the atmosphere in Butterfly Valley was warm and comfortable. By the lake, a bonfire was burning, illuminating all directions. Above the bonfire, a goat was being roasted. It was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. One could smell the fragrance of roasted meat from afar. There was also a pot of fish soup stewing beside it. It was very fresh and fragrant. Just smelling it made one drool. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofei and his sister, Ling Yunfei and his family, Old Man Ran, Old Man Feng, Old Man Yi, Jiang Zhengyi and his wife, Yan Nanshan and his wife. There was also Ren Wushuang, Luo Qingzhu, Feng Ling Er. Everyone gathered around the bonfire, eating meat and drinking wine. They laughed and cheered, presenting a jubilant scene. This was destined to be a sleepless night. Especially Qin Feiyang and the other young people. They chatted for the whole night. There were joys and sorrows. It's hard to find a confidant in life. For our rare friendship, cheers. The next morning. The gathering finally ended. This celestial immortal wine is really the best. Do you have any more? Can you give me some? Ling Yunfei hugged a wine jar. There was still half of it left. He looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed. I do have some, but if you ask him for more, he will definitely fall out with me on the spot. Qin Feiyang shook his head. For Hui Yi, this celestial immortal wine was his life. Stingy. Ling Yunfei pursed his lips. Drink, drink, drink. Sooner or later, you'll die from drinking. Zhao Shuang'er glared at Ling Yunfei. If I die from drinking, won't you be a widow? Ling Yunfei laughed. Zhao Shuang'er rolled her eyes at him. She looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, where are you going next? Let's go to the Forgotten Continent to take a look. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yan Wei and his Sky Tiger tribe are in the 1st district. Wang Yangfeng and the Wang clan are also in the 1st district. Zhao Shuang'er said. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He asked suspiciously, why did Wang Yangfeng and the others go to the Forgotten Continent? Back in the ancient pagoda, weren't they neighbors with the Sky Tiger tribe? As time passed, their relationship deepened. So after you left, Wang Yangfeng brought the people to the Forgotten Continent and continued to be neighbors with the Sky Tiger tribe. Zhao Shuang'er smiled. Hearing these words, Qin Feiyang's dusty memories resurfaced. Back then in the ancient pagoda, the Sky Tiger tribe and the Wang clan had fought over territory. However, later on, under his deterrence and persuasion, the two sides reconciled. Slowly, the two clans even established a deep friendship. When the Wang clan was mentioned, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but think of Wang Xiaojie. This kid was his only disciple. He wondered how much he had grown. There was also Qin Chen. Qin Chen's original name was Mu Chen. He was a member of the Mu clan. However, because of Mu Qin's wrong decision, the Mu clan was destroyed. Therefore, he hated the Mu clan to the core. Chapter 2789. Back then, Mu Chen was bullied by the disciples of the Mu family and happened to run into him. Hence, he kindly helped him and changed Mu Chen's name to Qin Chen. From then on, he would be his shadow, which was also his assassin. Although Qin Chen did not perform amazingly in the past few years, and being Qin Feiyang's shadow had become an empty promise, Qin Chen still left a deep impression on Qin Feiyang. Because compared to Wang Xiaojie, Qin Chen seemed more mature and steady. Moreover, Qin Chen was also forced by Mu Qin to take the spiritual disaster pill and his cultivation was crippled. He had the same experience as Qin Feiyang. Apart from Wang Xiaojie and Qin Chen, there was also a woman who left a deep impression on Qin Feiyang. This woman was Wang Jin. Wang Jin was Wang Xiaojie's sister and also had a tragic experience. Her virginity was ruined. Later on, it was also Qin Feiyang who saved her. It was also because of this that Wang Jin developed feelings of admiration for Qin Feiyang. However, she was rejected by Qin Feiyang. It was not that he despised Wang Jin for losing her virginity, but because apart from the mermaid princess, he really could not accept any other woman. Of course, there were more old friends in Forgotten Continent. There was also Mr. Hao, who hated him. Wang Yuer, who loved and hated him. Gong Sun Bei, Wang Zicheng, Barbarian Bull, and so on. Finally, there was a man, Pei Yi. Pei Yi was from the Divine Python tribe and had long become the chief of the Divine Python tribe. Qin Feiyang admired this person. Although he was about the same age as him, in terms of mentality and character, he was more open-minded than anyone else. Qin Feiyang still remembered that the chief of the Divine Python tribe at that time was Pei Yi's biological uncle. And Pei Yi's father was killed by his biological uncle. At that time, Qin Feiyang found out the truth and was afraid that Pei Yi would be devastated. Hence, he had been hesitant to tell Pei Yi. However, when he found Pei Yi, he found out that Pei Yi had already known the truth long ago. He just did not hide it in his heart. Moreover, even when faced with this truth, he did not go crazy like other people, nor did he hate his uncle. With such a temperament, even Qin Feiyang felt ashamed of his inferiority. Back then, he even took the initiative to give Pei Yi some potential pills and potential pills. Pei Yi was probably the first outsider to make Qin Feiyang willingly give out those pills to him. Clearly, he admired Pei Yi a lot. Who? Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, looked at everyone and said with a smile, "Then I'll go to the Forgotten Continent first." "When will you be back?" "Don't run back to the ancient world without saying a word," Ling Yunfei said. "How is this possible?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. After pondering for a while, he said, "I might stay for a few hundred years." "Hundreds of years? That's great." Everyone was stunned for a moment before they were pleasantly surprised. "But I can't be sure. What if something unexpected happens midway?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile. All right, hurry up and go." Ling Yunfei waved his hand. "When Uncle Yen and the others wake up, let them know," Qin Feiyang said. "Okay." Ling Yunfei and the others nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and swept up the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei, appearing in a stone room. This was the secret room at the bottom of the Butterfly Valley. The teleportation altar that led to the Forgotten Continent sat in the center of the secret room. Qin Feiyang pointed his index finger, and a wisp of divine power fused with the altar. The altar immediately recovered. Forgotten Continent. Glacier Forest. After a few hundred years, this place was still covered in snow. The ice lake had always been there. After all, this was the place where the snow python cultivated. Even if it was destroyed in battle, it could be rebuilt. Heavy snow floated in the sky. The entire world was filled with bone-chilling cold. Swoosh! 3 people and a wolf appeared out of thin air above the ice lake. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. What a familiar scene. Qin Feiyang glanced around and said with a smile. Yes. The white-eyed wolf nodded. In the past, they had experienced too many things here. As if they were chased by someone and fled here. As if the snow python was making things difficult for them. It was also here that they killed Mu Tianyang, Mu Tianjun, the demon dragon, and the demon ancestor, and completely ended that catastrophe. Of course. It was also here that the snow python took away the blood of Mu Tianyang and the others and asked Qin Yuan to help them be reborn. Snow python, the white-eyed wolf murmured. Boom! A monstrous divine power burst out like an invisible torrent, crashing into the ice lake below. Crack! The ice lake turned into ashes on the spot. Who dares to be presumptuous here? Accompanied by an angry roar, a huge snow python rushed out of the ice mist. Long time no see. The white-eyed wolf looked at the snow python and joked. When the snow python saw Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, its eyes suddenly widened in disbelief. You must be surprised. The people who went to the ancient world suddenly appeared in front of me. The white-eyed wolf looked at it with a playful expression. "Why are you back?" The snow python was shocked. "Let's talk about this later. Let's settle our old scores first. We will be taken care of by you in the future." The white-eyed wolf waved its claws and a gust of wind suddenly blew. Pieces of snow rose into the air and turned into a giant hand that covered the sky and slapped at the snow python. "Bastard!" The snow python was furious. It raised its giant tail and slapped at the giant hand. "Ant!" The white-eyed wolf's eyes were full of disdain. The giant beast formed by the snow slapped at the snow python. The snow python immediately howled and was sent flying. "What? So powerful?" The snow python was extremely shocked by his unstoppable combat power. "Life is full of ups and downs. Are you still going to jump now?" The white-eyed wolf looked at her with contempt. The snow python fell silent. It was obvious that the white-eyed wolf had grown to a height that even she could only look up to. Lu Xiaofei and his sister were also shocked and they saw this scene. They also knew the snow python. She was the guardian of the forgotten continent. In the entire Great Qin, there was only one person who could fight with the snow python. Qin Yuan. Although their uncle and Uncle Wolf said that with their current strength, they could even kill the snow python in an instant, they did not see it with their own eyes. They still had some doubts. At this moment, when they saw it with their own eyes, they realized that their Uncle Wolf's strength was really terrifying. "Back then, we needed your permission to pass through this altar. There was even one time when you almost let little Qin Zi's purple gold dragon blood dry. But after you merged with the purple gold dragon blood, I didn't see you recover your white dragon body." The white-eyed wolf sneered. The snow python said in a deep voice, "The curse of the golden small beast can't be broken. You know that too. If it wasn't for you, would Mu Tianyang and the others be reborn? Now I'm going to destroy you." The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed with killing intent. "Qin Feiyang, tell the white-eyed wolf not to go too far." But at this moment, Dong Jingyang's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Obviously, Dong Jingyang heard the movement outside. One had to know. Dong Jingyang's previous life was the winged dragon, and he was the snow python's partner. Naturally, he would not allow the white-eyed wolf to hurt the snow python. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath and waved his hand. Dong Jingyang appeared out of thin air. "White-eyed wolf, stop." Dong Jingyang immediately stood in front of the snow python and stared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. "Do I have to stop just because you say so? Do I have to give you face? Well, I also want to see how strong you are now at the peak of the ninth heaven realm." The white-eyed wolf directly activated his fighting soul, and the world was suddenly shrouded in a terrifying pressure. Dong Jingyang's pupils contracted, and he could not help but look at Qin Feiyang. "Forget it." Qin Feiyang sighed. "Forget it?" The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. "It's all in the past, what's there to care about?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. Okay, you're open-minded, you're magnanimous." The white-eyed wolf snorted and withdrew his fighting soul. After the fighting soul disappeared, the pressure slowly dissipated. At this moment, whether it was the snow python, Lu Xiaofei and his sister, they all felt the threat of death. Uncle Wolf's fighting soul, how terrifying is it? The brother and sister pondered in their hearts. After the fighting soul disappeared, the snow python finally regained its senses, and its eyes immediately locked onto Dong Jingyang's back. The corner of its eyes could not help but shed a drop of tears. Dong Jingyang also heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, he had no confidence to fight with the white-eyed wolf now. Although he was in the castle when he was fighting with the giant beast in hell, he could hear the sounds outside, so he knew the changes in the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul. Now, not only could it deprive the fighting soul, it could also deprive the cultivation. Anyone who faced such a fighting soul would instinctively fear. Because depriving the cultivation was more terrifying than depriving the fighting soul. Without the fighting soul, although the battle strength would drop greatly, at least the cultivation would still be there. But if the cultivation was gone, it would all be over. Following closely. Dong Xingyang slowly turned around, looked at the snow python, and smiled. How have you been these years? Good, good, good. The snow python nodded its head, and its emotions were like a broken dam, completely uncontrollable. It's been hard on you. Dong Xingyang stretched out his hand and stroked the snow python's head. No, no. The snow python shook its head, also enjoying Dong Xingyang's stroking. Although the winged dragon had taken over Dong Xingyang's body and became a real human, his love for the snow python had never changed. The snow python asked, "How have you been in the ancient world all these years?" "Pretty good. I met Qin Batian and the others, and with their help, my strength has greatly improved. Now, I'm cultivating in Qin Feiyang's Black Tortoise realm. The time array in the Black Tortoise realm is 1,000 years. I believe that it won't be long before I can break through to the imperishable realm. But unfortunately, I still haven't found a way to break the curse. I'm sorry." Dong Xingyang lowered his head in self-reproach. "It's okay." The snow python shook its head. "But don't worry, I will definitely find a way to turn you back into a white dragon." Dong Xingyang looked at the snow python, and his eyes were filled with determination. "I believe." The snow python kept nodding. "Curse," Qin Feiyang muttered. For the snow python, Dong Xingyang stepped into the ancient world without fear of death. As for him, in fact, he also had an old man who was worth him going through fire and water. This old man was Uncle Yuan. There was also a curse on Uncle Yuan's body, and his cultivation would forever be stuck at the half-step Divine Lord level. He also had to think of a way to break this curse for Uncle Yuan. Chapter 2790. Sigh. Qin Feiyang looked deeply at Dong Xingyang and the snow python, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Then, he looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "Let's go." No matter what, Dong Xingyang and the snow python's relationship with each other was still worthy of respect. Moreover, other than reviving Mu Tianyang and the demon ancestor, Dong Xingyang actually didn't do anything too excessive. As for the snow python's previous difficulties, for the current Qin Feiyang, it was just a passing cloud. The white-eyed wolf coldly looked at Dong Xingyang and the snow python, and finally turned around and left. Lu Xiaofei and his sister followed closely beside the man and the wolf. The snow python looked at the back of Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and asked, "Are they very strong now?" "Very strong. If they go all out, they can instantly destroy the entire Forgotten Continent and Great Qin. As for me," Dong Xingyang laughed bitterly, shook his head and said, "I'm afraid I'll only be killed in an instant." The snow python was shocked. This was too shocking. In short, the current Qin Feiyang is no longer something you and I can control. His target is no longer us insignificant people, but the heavens. Dong Xingyang pointed to the sky and whispered. "Heavens." The snow python raised its head to look at the sky, and could not help but set off stormy waves in its heart. How many years had it been? Who would have thought that Qin Feiyang had already grown to such an extent? It was too terrifying. Little Qin Z, I'm still very unhappy. No. I'm very unhappy. Above the glacier. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Take it easy. Just think like that. With your current strength, you can already kill her in an instant. In front of you, she's just an ant. What's there to argue with an ant? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Ant? The Lu siblings looked at each other. These two uncles were probably the only people who dared to call the snow pythons ants. The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned. He grinned and said, "Hearing you say that makes me feel much better." Huh, Qin Feiyang laughed and asked, "Little Fei, little Jia, where are the Sky Tiger tribe and the Wang clan? Come with us." Lu Xiaofei and his sister ran to the front to lead the way. Very soon, the few of them flew out of the glacier. "What are you doing? Let me go." Suddenly, the sound of quarreling was transmitted to their ears. It was a woman's voice, and there was a hint of anger in it. "What? I only drank some wine and you actually insulted me in front of everyone. How can a man like me have any face left?" It was a man's voice, and his tone was filled with anger. "You call that a little? Idling around all day, doing nothing but drinking. No matter what, I'm the only woman running around outside. You have the nerve to say that you're a man. I think you don't deserve to be a man at all." The woman's angry voice sounded again. "You still dare to humiliate me?" The man's roar sounded, followed by a loud slap. "There are actually people quarreling." Lu Xiaofei shook his head. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Let's go, this sounds like a quarrel between husband and wife." "N." Lu Xiaofei nodded. The group continued to move forward. But suddenly, Lu Xiaofei was stunned and stopped again. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Lu Xiaojia looked at him suspiciously. "Why do the voices of these two people sound a little familiar?" Lu Xiaofei frowned. "Familiar?" Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Lu Xiaojia were stunned. "You dare to hit me?" The woman's angry roar suddenly sounded. "Yes, I'm hitting you." The man laughed angrily, and then another slap sounded. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and muttered, "This woman's voice, why do I suddenly feel a little familiar?" "You also find it familiar?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. "N." Qin Feiyang nodded. "If even you find it familiar, then they must be our old friends. Let's go down and have a look." The white-eyed wolf said. "N." Qin Feiyang nodded. They landed in a forest and walked in the direction of the quarrel. Soon, they were under a big tree in front of them, looking at a man and a woman. The woman was lying on the ground in a sorry state, crying sadly. The man stood aside, looking down at the woman with a sneer on his face. "If I didn't marry you back then, would anyone want a slut like you? You even put on an arrogant attitude all day long, as if it's a blessing that I married you. Who do you think you are?" After the man finished speaking, he bent down and grabbed the woman's hair. He pulled the woman's head up and slapped her face again. "It's her." Seeing the woman's face, Qin Feiyang's gaze suddenly trembled slightly. "I didn't expect it to be her." The white-eyed wolf muttered, obviously also recognizing this woman. "It's them." Lu Xiaofei also whispered. "Brother, you know them?" Lu Xiaojia was suspicious. "N." Lu Xiaofei nodded. Looking at the man and woman, there was a trace of anger in his eyes, and at the same time, a trace of suspicion. "Then why don't I know them?" Lu Xiaojia was suspicious. "Since you were young, how many times have you been to Forgotten Continent?" Lu Xiaofei rolled his eyes at her. Lu Xiaojia was puzzled, "Then who are they?" "That woman is Brother Jie's sister, Wang Jin. That man is Sister Wang Jin's man, Yan Yun." Lu Xiaofei said. "Brother Jie?" Lu Xiaojia was stunned. "N." "It's uncle's disciple, Wang Shaojie. When you were 10 years old, he came to our house." Lu Xiaofei whispered. "So it's him." Lu Xiaojia tried hard to recall for a moment and nodded in realization. "What's going on? Last time when Situ Feiyang and I went to play, weren't they quite lovey-dovey? Sister Wang Jin and Yan Yun even brought us to their house and personally cooked for us." Lu Xiaofei was puzzled. However, Lu Xiaofei obviously did not notice that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's expressions were extremely gloomy. Looking at Wang Jin again. Hearing Yan Yun's words, her body suddenly trembled. She looked at Yan Yun in disbelief and asked, "What did you say?" "What did I say? I said that you're a slut. Do you think that everyone doesn't know what happened to you in the village back then? It's just that we don't want to talk about it and hurt your pride. You're really proud. I married you because I pity you, understand?" Yan Yun sneered. "You scoundrel." Wang Jin suddenly got up like crazy and pounced on Yan Yun. The king of hell sneered and kicked Wang Jin in the stomach. Wang Jin flew out on the spot and curled up on the grass. Her face was full of pain. "Damn it!" Lu Xiaofei was furious and was about to rush forward. However, at this moment, Qin Feiyang reached out and pulled him. "What's the matter?" Lu Xiaofei was slightly stunned and turned to look at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang asked, "Have you met them?" "Yes. Once, Situ Feiyang and I went to look for brother Xiaojia and Yan Wei's grandpa to play. We even went to their house to have a meal." Lu Xiaofei nodded. "How's their relationship?" Qin Feiyang asked. "They were very lovey-dovey at that time. Yan Yun also treated sister Wang Jin very well in front of us. But I don't know why she hit sister Wang Jin today." Lu Xiaofei frowned. White-eyed Wolf sighed. "I think the love you see is just an act." "An act?" Lu Xiaofei was stunned. "Just watch." White-eyed Wolf did not explain and looked at Yan Yun coldly. Lu Xiaofei suppressed the anger in his heart and looked up at the two of them. "What's wrong?" Lying on the ground and pretending to be pitiful again. Yan Yun walked in front of Wang Jin, her face full of ridicule. Wang Jin held her stomach and looked at Yan Yun. "I was really blind to marry a scum like you back then." "I'm a scum." Yan Yun laughed loudly repeatedly and said, "Just a rotten thing like you also has the nerve to call me scum?" "Yes. I accept it. I have an unbearable past, but I want to ask you, after marrying you, have I done anything to let you down?" Wang Jin said angrily. Yan Yun sneered. "Who knows if you have done it or not?" Wang Jin's face was filled with despair. Yan Yun said, "Are you going to call me a bastard again?" "You are a bastard to begin with." Wang Jin said angrily. "Haha, yes. I am a bastard. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. I married you purely because of your brother, Wang Xiaojia." Yan Yun laughed. Wang Jin looked at him suspiciously. "Your brother is Qin Feiyang's disciple. Whether it is the Emperor of Great Qin or our Forgotten Continent's Chief Tower Master Gongsun Bei, he has a deep relationship with them. As long as I marry you, I can naturally rely on this relationship to soar." Yan Yun sneered. "What?" Wang Jin's delicate body trembled. "I also heard that you liked Qin Feiyang. Unfortunately, Qin Feiyang disliked you and rejected you. Tell me the truth. I really admire your courage. With your body that has been violated, you dare to run after Qin Feiyang." Yan Yun sneered. Wang Jin's face turned pale. She never thought that this man would marry her for benefits. "Don't lie on the ground and pretend to be pitiful. Hurry up and come back with me. Let me tell you. If you dare to speak of today's matter, I will kill you." Yan Yun's eyes flashed with madness. Wang Jin's delicate body trembled again, her face incomparably miserable. Women, no matter what experience, should be respected. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded. "Who?" Yan Yun was shocked and hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice, only to see three people and a wolf walking towards them step by step. Lu Xiaofei. When he saw Lu Xiaofei, Yan Yun's gaze suddenly trembled, and he asked in surprise, "Why are you here?" But at the same time, But Wang Jin's gaze was firmly locked onto Qin Feiyang's body. This face, this figure, wasn't this him? Yan Yun also saw Qin Feiyang, but he only glanced at him hurriedly and might not have reacted for a moment. "You scum!" Lu Xiaofei angrily rushed over and slapped Yan Yun. "You actually saw me, then I'm sorry, even if you have a strong background, I can only kill you to silence you." Killing intent surged in Yan Yun's eyes, and his aura suddenly erupted. It was the cultivation of a 9-star war saint. Lu Xiaofei was a war master, so he was naturally no match for Yan Yun. Boom! Lu Xiaofei's entire body was immediately sent flying, his arm shattered on the spot, and his internal organs shattered. "Brother," Lu Xiaojia called out, and hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, "Uncle." Chapter 2791. Uncle. Yan Yun looked at Qin Feiyang again and was about to speak. But suddenly, his expression froze, and a trace of bewilderment appeared in his eyes. Bullying a woman and killing her to silence her. I didn't expect there to be such an awe-inspiring person in Forgotten Continent. Qin Feiyang walked over step by step. "You are," Yan Yun stared at Qin Feiyang, his face filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "Try and see if you can kill me to silence me too." "Don't come over," Yan Yun retreated in fear. Why would this person appear? Didn't he leave Great Qin hundreds of years ago? Weren't you very awe-inspiring when you were bullying a woman just now? What? Have you become a soft-footed shrimp now? Qin Feiyang took a step forward and instantly landed in front of Yan Yun. Yan Yun instinctively threw a punch at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang raised his arm and pointed his index finger at Yan Yun's fist. Immediately, Yan Yun's fist stopped in the air. What a powerful force! Yan Yun was shocked. "Since you married her, you have to treat her sincerely. With your attitude, calling you a scum is too flattering. You're worse than a scum." Qin Feiyang opened his mouth, and a terrifying force suddenly roared out from his fingertips. Yan Yun screamed and flew out. His arm was also directly shattered, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. "Serves you right." Lu Xiaofei got up and stared at Yan Yun in disgust. "You're still gloating? Look at yourself, what have you become?" Lu Xiaojia rolled her eyes at her brother and took out a regeneration pill. She tiptoed and put it into Lu Xiaofei's mouth. "It's just a small injury." Lu Xiaofei chuckled. Qin Feiyang ignored Yan Yun and turned to Wang Jin. He stopped beside her and smiled, "Long time no see." "It's really you?" Wang Jin asked. "Yes." Nodding his head, Qin Feiyang held on to Wang Jin's arm and smiled, "Get up." Wang Jin nodded. Just as he was about to get up, he suddenly hugged his stomach and groaned in pain. His face was full of pain. What happened? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. White-Eyed Wolf suddenly looked at the ground and shouted, "Little Qin Zi, there's blood." Blood? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked down. There was indeed a large pool of blood on the ground. He took another look. The blood came from Wang Jin's inner thigh. "Are you hurt?" Qin Feiyang was surprised and quickly took out a healing pill. "Wait." Lu Xiaofei hurriedly waved his hand and ran over. He said in shock, "Uncle, this doesn't seem to be an injury." What is it?" Qin Feiyang looked at him anxiously. "It's a miscarriage." Wang Jin said weakly. "Miscarriage?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. "Yes. I'm already pregnant with his child. Just now, he kicked me in the stomach. It may cause me to miscarry." Wang Jin said. His face was extremely pale. "You're already pregnant with his child?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at Lu Xiaofei and said, "Then what should we do?" "How should I know?" Lu Xiaofei was speechless. He had never encountered such a thing. Although Qin Feiyang had been through hundreds of battles, it was also the first time he encountered such a thing. For a moment, he was at a loss. "Uncle, this. Let's send her home first," Lu Xiaojia said. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. He picked up Wang Jin and looked at Lu Xiaofei, saying, "Lead the way." "Okay, okay." Lu Xiaofei came to his senses and quickly ran forward. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yan Yun, who was lying on the side and looking at Wang Jin in shock. A cold light flashed in his eyes and he said, "White-eyed wolf, take him with me." "Okay." White-eyed wolf took a step forward and kicked Yan Yun's back. He shouted, "Let's go." Yan Yun came to his senses and looked at White-eyed wolf. He said, "She said that she's already pregnant with my child, right?" "And then?" White-eyed wolf said. "So, I have a descendant." Yan Yun murmured. "You don't know. It seems that you're really an irresponsible man. Hurry up, don't force me to make a move." White-eyed wolf shouted. A village was located in a mountain. The village was made up of simple wooden buildings. There were as many as 1,000,000 people in the village. This was where the Sky Tiger tribe and the Wang clan were located. The people of the two tribes were very leisurely. The old people drank tea and chatted outside while sunbathing. The younger generation was training and hunting in the surrounding mountains. The children gathered in various places, laughing and playing. A stone statue stood at the entrance of the village. The stone statue was exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. Bang! Suddenly, a terrifying aura rolled over from afar. The people in the village were shocked and looked up. Who was that? The aura was so strong. And it seemed a little familiar. Whoosh! Suddenly, a black figure rushed out from a wooden building halfway up the mountain and stood in the sky above the village with a trace of surprise in his eyes. "This seems to be the young master's aura," the person murmured. Whoosh! Another old man flew into the sky, his face full of surprise and doubt. "Old Yan, this aura," the old man looked at the void in the distance in surprise. That was right. These two people were Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng. After hundreds of years of getting along, the two of them had become good friends despite their age difference. "This is impossible, the young master is in the ancient realm. How can it be his aura?" Yan Wei shook his head. "But this aura is exactly the same as his," Wang Yangfeng said. Whoosh! The aura approached from afar and soon entered the sight of Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng. "It's the young master." Looking at Qin Feiyang who was carrying Wang Jin, their eyes trembled. Immediately after, their faces were full of surprise and joy. When the two of them came back to their senses and were ready to welcome him, Qin Feiyang had already landed in front of them. "Greetings, young master." The two of them immediately knelt on one knee and said respectfully, "It's him. Qin Feiyang." The people of the Sky Tiger tribe and the Wang clan were also in an uproar in an instant. "Are you blind? Can't you see that Wang Jin's situation is not good?" Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and shouted. Right now, he was not in the mood to reminisce. Wang Jin. Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng were stunned. Only then did they notice that Qin Feiyang was carrying Wang Jin. They hurried forward and asked, "What's wrong with her?" "It seems to be a miscarriage." Qin Feiyang said. "What? Jin is pregnant? Why didn't we know?" Wang Yangfeng was stunned. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Is this the time to make a fuss?" "Understood, understood." Wang Yangfeng hurriedly took Wang Jin, looked at an old woman below, and said, "Come up quickly and help me take a look." The old woman flew up, took Wang Jin, and laid her flat in the void. Immediately after, the old woman waved her hand, and a battle chi emerged. A barrier appeared, blocking everyone's sight. Young master, what's going on? Yan Wei was suspicious. Qin Feiyang was silent. At this moment, the white-eyed wolf also flew over with Yan Yun. White-eyed wolf, Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng looked at the white-eyed wolf, but found that the white-eyed wolf's eyes were also terrifyingly gloomy. Immediately after, the two of them looked at Yan Yun and asked, Yan Yun, what's going on? Yan Yun lowered her head, not saying a word, her face was full of fear. This atmosphere is not right. Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng looked at each other and couldn't help but feel nervous. The people of the Sky Tiger tribe and the Wang clan below were the same. Master. Soon after, accompanied by a cry of surprise, two young men aggressively flew out from the void in the distance. These two people were Wang Xiaojie and Qin Chen. Originally, he and Qin Chen were hunting in the distance, but suddenly sensed Qin Feiyang's aura, and immediately ran back to check. Running back to take a look, it was really Master who had returned. Wang Xiaojie landed in front of Qin Feiyang and asked in surprise, Master, when did you come back? Qin Chen was silent, but there was also a trace of joy in his eyes. But Qin Feiyang only glanced at the two of them, and then shifted his gaze to the barrier. What's going on? Wang Xiaojie and Qin Chen looked at each other, and then looked at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia. The white-eyed wolf. Lu Xiaofei and his sister, the white-eyed wolf, were also silent. This feeling was not right. Wang Yangfeng walked to Wang Xiaojie's side and whispered, Xiaojie, your sister is pregnant. What? Sister is pregnant? Then, am I going to be an uncle? Wang Xiaojie was stunned. But before Wang Xiaojie could be happy, Wang Yangfeng said again, but it seems that she is going to have a miscarriage. Miscarriage? Wang Xiaojie was stunned and hurriedly said, why would she have a miscarriage? I don't know either. It was already like this when young master brought her back. Wang Yangfeng shook his head. Wang Xiaojie glanced at Qin Feiyang, walked to Yan Yun's side, and said, brother-in-law, tell me, what's going on? Yan Yun lowered his head, not daring to look at Wang Xiaojie at all. At this time, the barrier dissipated. The old woman got up and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, did Xiao Jin's stomach suffer a heavy blow? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Who did it? So cruel. If Xiao Jin didn't use battle qi to protect the fetus, she would definitely have a miscarriage. The old woman said angrily. Then how is she now? Qin Feiyang asked. Although there is battle qi to protect the fetus, it still affected the fetus. Moreover, Xiao Jin is very weak now and has to be treated immediately. I'll take Xiao Jin down first. After the old woman finished speaking, she carried Wang Jin, landed in the village below, and entered a wooden building. Wang Xiaojie couldn't help but look at Qin Feiyang, and said, Master, what the hell is going on? Yan Wei, Qin Chen, Wang Yangfeng, and the people in the village below also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Yan Yun and said, do you want to say it yourself, or do we help you? Swish. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Yan Yun. Yan Yun was extremely panicked. Say it quickly. White-eyed wolf shouted. It's me, I just had a small quarrel with Xiao Jin. On impulse, I hit Xiao Jin. I really didn't expect it to turn out like this. I don't know either. Xiao Jin is pregnant. Yan Yun hurriedly shouted. You dare to hit my sister? Wang Xiaojie suddenly rushed in front of Yan Yun, grabbed his clothes, and roared. Xiaojie, I really didn't mean it. Yan Yun shook his head. Just a small quarrel. Did he just hit Wang Jin? Qin Feiyang was so angry that he laughed. Yan Yun's body trembled, and he looked at Qin Feiyang in panic, his face couldn't help but turn pale. Chapter 2792. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xiaofei and said, Xiaofei, tell everyone. Yes, uncle. Lu Xiaofei nodded and looked at Wang Xiaojie. Brother Xiaojie, this is what happened. Lu Xiaofei immediately recounted the process of this matter in detail. What? He married my sister because of my relationship with master. Wang Xiaojie was stunned. Yan Wei, Wang Yangfeng, and the people below all looked at Yan Yun in disbelief. Young master, is there a mistake? In my impression, Yan Yun is not such a person. Yan Wei looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Yes. Although he is a little addicted to alcohol, he is still very good to Jin. We can all see this. Wang Yangfeng added. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and said, Are you suspecting that I have wronged him? We wouldn't dare. The two of them quickly lowered their heads. With the young master's status and strength, was there a need to wrongly accuse a small Yan Yun? Bastard! How dare you humiliate my sister? I'll kill you! Wang Xiaojie suddenly roared, grabbed Yan Yun's clothes, and punched Yan Yun in the face. Yan Yun immediately screamed, blood splattering from his face. Xiaojie, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Yan Yun wailed desperately. My sister has had an unbearable experience, but her character is obvious to all. Respect the old and love the young. She is educated and reasonable. It's not easy for my sister to get to where she is today. I will never allow anyone to hurt her again. The furious Wang Xiaojie was completely out to kill. He kicked Yan Yun in the stomach, shattering Yan Yun's energy sea on the spot. Following that, Wang Xiaojie punched Yan Yun's back again. Yan Yun immediately smashed into a patch of grass in the village below like a meteorite. With a bang, a large pit appeared. Xiaojie, I am your brother-in-law, and the father of the child in your sister's stomach. If you kill me, they will become orphans and widows. Shao Jie, I'm really sorry. Please, give me another chance. I will definitely make up for the harm I've done to your sister. Looking at Wang Xiaojie, who was like a god of death, Yan Yun was terrified. He hurriedly crawled up and cried out. You don't have to make it up to me. As for my sister and her child, as her younger brother, I will take good care of them. Wang Xiaojie shook his head. Wang Yangfeng hurriedly pulled Wang Xiaojie and said, Xiaojie, don't be rash. You have to listen to your sister's opinion on this matter. Sister is too naive, that's why she was deceived by him for so many years. Wang Xiaojie shook off Wang Yangfeng's hand and walked coldly towards Yan Yun. Sigh. Wang Yangfeng sighed. He looked at Yan Wei and said, Old Yan, persuade little Jie. After all, Yan Yun is from your Sky Tiger tribe. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He turned to look at Yan Wei and frowned. He's from your Sky Tiger tribe? Yan Wei's gaze trembled. He hurriedly knelt in the air and said, Young lord, please forgive me. It's my fault for not disciplining him properly. Not bad. Not bad at all. I really want to know how many more of such scum there are in the Sky Tiger tribe. Qin Feiyang scanned the people in the village below. Everyone in the Sky Tiger tribe was trembling with fear. Yan Wei was even more panicked. Young lord, old Yan was also fooled by Yan Yun's facade. Actually, the people of our Wang clan and Sky Tiger tribe are all quite good people. Wang Yangfeng bowed and said. When the forest is big, there will always be a few scum. This Yan Yun is indeed hiding his strength. After interacting with him for so long, even I didn't realize that he was such a person. Qin Chen shook his head. Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Yangfeng and Qin Chen. He took a deep breath and looked at Yan Wei. Get up. Thank you for your kindness, young lord. Yan Wei got up. Qin Feiyang said, in the future, keep your eyes open. People like him should be killed as soon as possible. Yes. Yan Wei replied respectfully. Although this matter has nothing to do with you directly, as the clan leader of the Sky Tiger tribe, it is your dereliction of duty for not educating your tribesmen well. You have to deal with the aftermath of this matter properly. Qin Feiyang said. Yes, young lord. Yen Wei said. Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Wang Jin's life was already miserable enough. Now that she had met such a scum, the heavens were too cruel to her. No, Shao Jie, I beg you, don't kill me, I really will change. Below. Yan Yun looked at Wang Xiaojie who was standing in front of him like a devil god. His entire being was scared out of his wits. Go to hell and repent slowly. Wang Xiaojie said coldly. He raised his arm and pressed it on Yan Yun's head. No, Yan Yun screamed. But it was useless. As Wang Xiaojie exerted force, Yan Yun's head exploded like a watermelon on the spot. Then, he slowly fell to the ground. Killing you is not enough to vent the anger in my heart. Wang Xiaojie roared ferociously. With another kick, Yan Yun's body was also smashed. Flesh and blood were all over the ground. The entire village was dead silent at this moment. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. On one hand, they were a little sad. Although Yan Yun deserved to be killed, without Yan Yun, Wang Jin and the child in her stomach would become an orphan and a widow. The future days would be even more difficult. On the other hand, Wang Jin was such a well-behaved and sensible girl. Why was her fate so rough? Couldn't the heavens pity her a little more? Shao Jie, stop, at this time. Wang Jin ran out of the wooden building. Shao Jin, you can't move around now, the old woman shouted as she chased after him. Wang Xiaojie finally put away his killing intent, walked in front of Wang Jin, and said with a smile, It's all right, sister, mother and I, we will take care of you and the child in your stomach. Wang Jin looked at the place where Yan Yun died, then turned around and walked into the wooden building. Although fate was unfair, he still had to live on strong. Shao Jie, at this time. A woman ran over, looking very worried. Wang Xiaojie looked at the woman and smiled, Mother, go accompany sister and comfort her. Yes. The woman nodded and quickly walked into the wooden building. Sigh. What a pitiful child. The old woman also sighed and turned to return to the house. Whoosh. Wang Xiaojie took a deep breath, flew into the sky, and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. He bowed and said, Thank you, master, for saving my sister again. Qin Feiyang sized up Wang Xiaojie and said, Not bad, compared to before, you have become more decisive. Wang Xiaojie said, After all, hundreds of years have passed, this disciple should have matured. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Chen again, and said with relief, You are also not bad, still like before, able to keep calm at all times. Qin Chen rubbed his head, revealing a silly smile. Qin Feiyang asked, Have you let go of the hatred for the Mu family and Mu Qing? When Qin Chen heard this, his eyes suddenly sank. Qin Feiyang said, Hatred may be the motivation for you to work hard, but it may also be the root of the disaster that will destroy your life. I understand. The hatred for the Mu family has long dissipated with the destruction of the Mu family. But the hatred for Mu Qing, I really can't forget. Qin Chen shook his head. I understand. However, it is not easy for you to find Mu Qing for revenge. Perhaps there will never be hope. Qin Feiyang said. In the past, Qin Chen had told him about the grudges with Mu Qing. In the past. In order to eat and wear, Qin Chen went to a restaurant to be a waiter. But because he accidentally bumped into Mu Qing made things difficult for him, making the restaurant owner fire Qin Chen and shattering his qi ocean. As a direct descendant of the Mu family, Mu Qing opened his all-seeing eye and was deeply doted on by the Mu family, naturally no one dared to go against his wishes. Later, Qin Chen's qi ocean was destroyed, and he was chased out of the restaurant. He was dissatisfied and ran to find the Mu family to reason, but in the end, he met Mu Qing at the door. It was also at that time that Mu Qing forced him to take the Calamity Spirit pill. It was also because of taking the Calamity Spirit pill that Qin Chen lost his cultivation and became a cripple. It was also because of this that Qin Chen's parents died of depression. At that time, Qin Chen even thought of suicide, which showed how big of a blow it was to him. In other words, Mu Qing was the executioner that caused the destruction of Qin Chen's family. Other grudges can be put down, but the death of one's parents, in all fairness, I believe that no one can easily put it down. Whether there is hope or not, I will not give up. Qin Chen said. Qin Feiyang sized up Qin Chen. This little guy's perseverance and unyielding character really made people have a whole new level of respect for him. Young master, don't keep standing here, let's go over there and sit and talk. Yan Wei said. Forget it. Originally, I came with a good mood, but I didn't expect to encounter such a thing, and my mood was instantly ruined. Qin Feiyang shook his head. I'm sorry, Yan Wei lowered his head and blamed himself. Alright, just discipline your clansmen well in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yes. Yan Wei nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and 10 crystal veins and spirit veins appeared. This is. Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng were surprised. Spirit vein, crystal vein, Qin Feiyang explained briefly, looked at the two of them and smiled, this is for you. This is too precious, please don't. Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng hurriedly waved their hands. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, since I'm giving it to you, just accept it, why are you being so polite? The two of them looked at each other and nodded, all right then, thank you, young master. Qin Feiyang waved his hand again, and 20 supreme-level divine arts and hundreds of legendary divine artifacts appeared, looking at the two of them, this is also for you. These divine artifacts and divine arts each have the power to destroy heaven and earth. So in the future, when you teach these divine artifacts and divine arts, you must look at the other party's character. White-Eyed Wolf said. White-Eyed Wolf is right. You must not give them to people with bad intentions. Qin Feiyang nodded. This subordinate will remember. The two of them bowed. Also, take good care of Wang Jin. Qin Feiyang said. The two of them nodded. All right then, I'll go to the Central Divine Kingdom first. When I return, I'll meet up with you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Farewell, young master. The two of them smiled at each other and bowed. It seemed that the young master was just annoyed and didn't want to stay here any longer, he wasn't really angry with them. Qin Chen, you also come with me to the Central Divine Kingdom. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Chen and said. Me too. Qin Chen was stunned. Master, what about me? Wang Xiaojie hurriedly asked. You won't stay at home to take care of your sister. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Wang Xiaojie smiled awkwardly and nodded, all right, I'll look for you after my sister calms down. Qin Feiyang shook his head and took a step forward. He brought along the White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofei and his sister, and Qin Chen, and quickly left. After Qin Feiyang left, Yan Wei immediately looked at the clansmen below and shouted sternly, you've all seen it, right? If anyone dares to be like Yan Yun in the future, don't blame me for being rude. The people of the Wang clan will also remember this lesson. In short, you have to remember one thing. Talent is secondary, character is the most important. No matter how talented one is, if one has bad character, he will only become a scourge in the end. We will not tolerate such people. We will kill whoever we find. Wang Yangfeng also shouted with a murderous aura. The people below couldn't help but lower their heads. Moreover, from now on, Wang Jin is my, Yan Wei's, adopted daughter. Anyone who dares to harm her or slander her behind her back will be my, Yan Wei's enemy. Yan Wei shouted again. This was to protect Wang Jin. Yan Wei was not only the chief of the Sky Tiger tribe, but he had also followed Qin Feiyang for many years. Whether it was in the Great Qin or in the Forgotten Continent, he had a very high status. Even the emperor and Lu Qiuyu treated him with respect. Therefore, if Wang Jin became his adopted daughter, her status would undoubtedly rise. Naturally, no one would dare to say anything. When the clansmen below heard this, they seemed to be very gratified by Yan Wei's decision. Yan Wei retracted his gaze and looked at Wang Yangfeng. Old Wang, go and take a look at Xiao Jin first. I will settle these spirit veins and crystal veins. Also, Yan Wei gave Wang Yangfeng a divine weapon and a divine art, and said, give these to little Jin as well. Uncle Yan, why are you giving these to my sister? We'll talk about it later. How can the harm Yan Yun caused my sister be compensated with these external things? Wang Xiaojie said unhappily. Xiaojie, compensation is only one aspect. I also hope that Xiao Jin will have the ability to protect herself when she encounters difficulties in the future. For example, if she had the ability to protect herself this time, why would she be bullied by Yan Yun? Xiao Jin's fate in this life is already bumpy enough, so I can't let her suffer in the future. Also, when the young master returns, I will find some pills to help your sister raise her cultivation and unlock all the doors of potential. This way, even if you are not by her side in the future, she can take care of herself. Yan Wei sighed. I see. Wang Xiaojie was enlightened and nodded. All right then, thank you, Uncle Yan. There's no need to thank a family. Yan Wei smiled and immediately got busy. Wang Yangfeng also brought the divine weapon and divine technique to visit Wang Jin. Wang Xiaojie raised his head and looked in the direction where Qin Feiyang and the others left. Why did Master call Qin Chen? This made him very concerned. Xiaojie, why are you still standing up there? Wang Yangfeng asked suspiciously when he saw Wang Xiaojie still standing in the void. I'll be right there. Wang Xiaojie snapped back to his senses and hurriedly retracted his gaze and flew down. Chapter 2793. Walking above the mountains and rivers, memories of the Forgotten Continent involuntarily surfaced in his mind. If his life was divided into 3 parts, the Forgotten Continent would be 1/3. For example, Yan Wei, Tan Tai Li, and Mu Qin, they all met here. So this was a place he would never forget. Little Qin Zi, do you still remember how your great-grandmother tricked you? White-Eyed Wolf suddenly said. Of course I remember. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. At that time, because of Tan Tai Li's torment, he almost faced the situation of being the enemy of the whole world in the Forgotten Continent. In the end, he found out that it was to train him. Uncle, then can you tell us about your experience in the Forgotten Continent? Lu Xiaofei was curious. Experience, Qin Feiyang murmured with a smile, this is a rather long experience, it can't be finished in 10 days or half a month. It's okay, take your time. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Chen followed by the side, not saying a word. In the past, the Forgotten Continent was not like now, where you could enter and leave as you wish. Qin Feiyang said. It's the same now. Although we can enter the Forgotten Continent as we wish, it's difficult for others to enter the Butterfly Valley. It's the same for the people of the Forgotten Continent. It's difficult to enter the Ice Lake. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked, the 2 continents are not connected? No. Because grandfather and Uncle Gongsun Bei considered that if the 2 continents were connected, it might bring a lot of trouble. Lu Xiaofei said. So it was their decision. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. Since it was the decision of his father and Gongsun Bei, they must have gone through layers of consideration. Uncle, continue, Lu Xiaofei's face was full of expectation. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, when your Uncle Wolf and I first entered the Forgotten Continent, it was not long after we entered the spirit state. Qin Feiyang slowly explained. Time passed little by little. Finally, a city covered in ice and snow entered the line of sight of the group. This was the 9th region, Ice Crystal City. It was also the entrance to the Central Divine Kingdom. I never thought that you would have experienced so much in the Forgotten Continent. Compared to you, my sister and I are really like flowers in a greenhouse. Lu Xiaofei shook his head and sighed. You only know now. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Ha, Lu Xiaofei laughed dryly. There are too many problems in a person's life. If you want to grow up, you have to learn to face them alone. Qin Feiyang said. I also want to go out and gain experience, but father and mother won't allow it. Lu Xiaofei rubbed his forehead and said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, it's not that they don't allow it. It's just that you're not ready. Do we still need to prepare for this? Lu Xiaofei was stunned. Of course. Do you think that just running out casually is called training? You need to have a goal for your training. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Target, Lu Xiaofei lowered his head and pondered. Very soon. The group of people approached Ice Crystal City. Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, in order to avoid unnecessary sensations, let's hide our identities. You still know how to hide your identity. Brother thought that you were going to run in openly like this. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. In today's great Qin and Forgotten Continent, who didn't know Qin Feiyang? Once Qin Feiyang appeared in Ice Crystal City, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and shook his head. This damn wolf cub really didn't let go of any opportunity to look down on him. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and an illusory form pill appeared. He threw it into his mouth and turned into the appearance of a big man. The white-eyed wolf turned into a big black dog. Lu Xiaofei and his sister, Qin Chen, didn't change their appearances. The explanation they gave was that there weren't many people who knew them anyway. Moreover, they knew the person guarding the altar, so it would be convenient for them. Ice Crystal City. Although there were guards guarding it, they weren't very strict. The group of people entered the city smoothly. A few hundred years had passed. Ice Crystal City had expanded a lot, but walking on the streets and looking around, Qin Feiyang could still see some of the shadows of the past. Come and take a look, come and take a look, the best mink fur coat. The sounds of hawking could be heard all around, and the streets were also filled with people and carriages, forming a bustling scene. Unknowingly, the group of people walked to a plaza. In the center of the plaza, stood a majestic statue. This statue was Qin Feiyang again. There's even a statue of you here. The white-eyed wolf was astonished. This is very normal. It was only because of Uncle that the Forgotten Continent was able to escape that disaster, so the people here are naturally extremely respectful towards Uncle. Lu Xiaofei said in a low voice. Actually, there's no need to do this. Everyone living well is the best reward for me. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's what you think, but everyone doesn't think so. You saved 2 continents, they should at least show some appreciation for you. And, only in this way will you not be forgotten. Otherwise, after a few hundred years, how many people will still remember you? Lu Xiaofei said. Is it that important whether they remember me or not? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Lu Xiaofei said, are you kidding? This is a supreme glory, of course it's important. Glory, Qin Feiyang muttered. Some things, even if explained to Lu Xiaofei, he wouldn't understand. After all, he was still too young. Beside the statue was the altar that led to the Central Divine Kingdom. Between the statue and the altar, there was an old man in black sitting cross-legged. The old man was as motionless as a mountain. Although it was snowing heavily, there wasn't a single snowflake on the old man's body. When the snowflakes fell on him, they instantly melted. An old acquaintance. Looking at this old man, Qin Feiyang's eyes gradually revealed a trace of a smile. Grandpa Yi. Lu Xiaojia shouted to the old man and ran over happily. The old man opened his eyes and looked at Lu Xiaojia. There was a touch of affection on his old face. Grandpa Yi, did you miss me? Lu Xiaojia ran over, hugged the old man's arm and asked coquettishly. Yes. The old man looked kind and dotingly rubbed Lu Xiaojia's head. Grandpa Yi, what about me? Lu Xiaofei also ran over. Yes, I missed both of you. The old man chuckled. At this time, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf and Qin Chen also entered the square and walked toward the old man. Greetings, senior. Qin Chen bowed to salute. You're here too. The old man lightly smiled to Qin Chen. After that, he glanced at Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. After which, he turned to Lu Xiaofei and his sister as he asked in a low voice, Are they together with you too? Yes. Lu Xiaojia nodded. Then who are they? Why haven't I seen them before? And where did you meet them? The old man asked in a low voice. Grandpa Yi, what do you mean? Are you suspecting that they are bad guys? Lu Xiaofei asked in astonishment. You two are too young and too naive. You don't know how cruel the world is. The old man said in a deep voice. He, Grandpa Yi, they are not bad guys. They are our uncles. Lu Xiaojia laughed. Uncles? The old man was slightly stunned. He looked at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf for a while and wondered, why didn't I know that you have such an uncle? Old man Yi, what are you thinking? If we are really bad guys, do you think the two of them can still see you? White-Eyed Wolf was speechless. The old man looked at White-Eyed Wolf in surprise. The White-Eyed Wolf chuckled and said, Take a guess, who exactly are we? There will be a prize if you guess correctly. You, the old man looked at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf. He had no impression of them at all. However, judging from the big black dog's tone, they seemed to be very close. And he was Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia's uncle. He seemed to have heard from Lu Zheng that because of Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong's relationship, the Qin clan became Lu Hong's family. If he was really the uncle of Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia, then the person in front of him must be the son of the emperor and Lu Qiuyu. However, he had seen all the children of the emperor and Lu Qiuyu, and there was no such person at all. The old man racked his brains, but he still could not figure it out. He had thought of Qin Feiyang, but he quickly dismissed the idea. Because he knew that Qin Feiyang had gone to the ancient world and could not be in the great Qin. The old man smiled helplessly. He looked at the siblings and said, Don't keep me in suspense. Just tell me. Lu Xiaojia giggled and said in a low voice, Grandpa Yi, he is Qin Feiyang's uncle. What? The old man's eyes widened, and he immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. It's been a long time. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. You, the old man was dumbfounded. It was completely out of his expectations. You old man, they all call us uncle, and you still can't guess our identity. It seems that the older you get, the more muddle-headed you become. The White-Eyed Wolf shook his head. The old man looked at the White-Eyed Wolf, then at Qin Feiyang, and then at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia. The siblings nodded with a smile. Is it really Qin Feiyang? The old man looked at Qin Feiyang, then at the White-Eyed Wolf and asked, Then you are the White-Eyed Wolf? You are the White-Eyed Wolf. Your whole family are White-Eyed Wolves. The White-Eyed Wolf rolled his eyes. The old man looked at the White-Eyed Wolf in a daze. This seemed to be something that only the White-Eyed Wolf could say. You, no. Why are you here? Didn't you go to the ancient world? The old man was a little incoherent. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "We came back a few days ago, so, we specially came to see you old friends." "Then what about your appearance?" the old man asked. "Do you still need to ask? With such a big statue erected here, if we didn't change our appearance, would we be able to walk here, alive?" the white-eyed wolf said. "Ha, that's true." The old man laughed dryly and nodded. "How is it? How have you been these years?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Good, very good." The old man quickly nodded and asked, "How about you? And Miss and Rushwang, have they come back? How are they doing now?" The miss he mentioned was Tantai Li. As for Qin Rushwang, she was not only his relative, but also his disciple. Naturally, the old man's identity was revealed. "Yi Shu. We are all good." Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and transmitted his voice, "Great-grandmother, do you want to come out for a while?" Chapter 2794. Forget it. Otherwise, everyone will be teary-eyed when we leave. After a moment of hesitation, Tantai Li's voice sounded. "Okay." He looked at Yi Shu and said with a smile, "Great-grandmother and the others didn't come back, but they're doing very well. You don't have to worry. It was also them who told me to come back and see you when I came back." "They didn't come back," Yi Shu murmured, a trace of disappointment on his old face. Then, he smiled and said, "All right, as long as they're doing well. They're very happy now." The white-eyed wolf said. "Why do you say that?" Yi Shu looked at the white-eyed wolf curiously. The white-eyed wolf said, "Because they found Qin Batian." "What? Qin Batian is still alive?" Yi Shu was surprised. "Of course. He's in the ancient world." The white-eyed wolf nodded. "They found Qin Batian, it would be strange if Miss and Rushwang weren't happy." Yi Shu chuckled. Qin Feiyang also smiled and asked, "What about the others? How are they doing?" "They're doing well." Yi Shu nodded and smiled. "Let's not talk here. Let's go to the Central Divine Kingdom first. Everyone will be happy to see you back. Then let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled. He was also somewhat impatient. Yi Shu waved his hand, and the altar quickly recovered. "Why are you guarding the altar here? Did you do something wrong and Gongsun Bei sent you here?" The white-eyed wolf smiled slyly. "You're still as funny as ever. The world is peaceful now. What mistake can I make? I'm just bored. Gongsun Bei takes care of everything in the Pill Pagoda. I really have nothing to do, so I came here to guard the altar." Yi Shu shook his head. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It seems that you admire Gongsun Bei's ability. Gongsun Bei is truly capable. Thank you for being merciful and not forcing him to stay by your side." Yi Shu chuckled. "With Gongsun Bei's ability, if he really followed me to the ancient realm, his achievements would probably be far greater than what they are now." Qin Feiyang's tone was somewhat regretful. "That's for sure. But wouldn't our pill tower lose this talent? Although it's a bit selfish of me to think this way, my pill tower really needs someone like him to lead us. Otherwise, our pill pagoda will sooner or later decline." Yi Shu smiled. "Aren't you exaggerating a bit too much? I don't believe that no one in the Forgotten Continent can surpass Gongsun Bei." The white-eyed wolf pouted. "You don't say, there really isn't. Even Wang Zicheng and the others cannot compare to Gongsun Bei." Yi Shu shook his head. Qin Feiyang asked, "Wang Zicheng and the others are also in the Pill Tower?" "Yes. All these years, they have been assisting Gongsun Bei and have never left. Although their abilities are slightly inferior to Gongsun Bei's, they are still very outstanding. As for now, whether it's Gongsun Bei or Wang Zicheng, they have all become existences that countless people admire." Yi Shu smiled. "After all, it's been hundreds of years. If they still don't have any achievements, it would be too embarrassing. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Don't say that. Wang Zicheng and the others are working so hard because of you. Yi Shu said. What does it have to do with me? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. They don't want to disappoint you. Because we all know that you will return sooner or later. When you return, how embarrassing would it be to see that there are no achievements? Moreover, they are all your subordinates. Everyone is paying attention to them. Naturally, they have to work harder. Yi Shu said. These guys, Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Yi Shu looked at the activated teleportation altar and smiled. Let's go. The group stepped onto the altar one after another. The white-eyed wolf said, Aren't you afraid that no one will guard the altar and take the opportunity to sneak in? Are you kidding? Who would have the guts to do that? Besides, there are people guarding the central divine kingdom. Without our permission, it's impossible to sneak into the central divine kingdom without anyone noticing. Yi Shu smiled confidently. Is that so? When brothers Ing Jing and little Qin Zi entered the central divine kingdom, didn't it mean that no one was there? The white-eyed wolf looked at him smugly. Ah! Yi Shu was stunned. He smiled bitterly and said, Can the others compare to you freaks? Freaks? Old man, you're mocking us. The white-eyed wolf glared at him unhappily. Huh, Yi Shu laughed. The central divine kingdom. Pill Pagoda Square. This place had not changed much. Trees lined both sides of the square. Young men and women hid in the trees to flirt. There was also a statue erected in the center of the square. It was another statue of Qin Feiyang. On the other side, there was an altar. An old man sat cross-legged beside the altar. This old man had a monkey face. He was not very tall, but his aura was extremely powerful. He was one of the hidden powerhouses of the Pill Pagoda, the monkey-faced old man. Back then, this person had even hunted down Qin Feiyang. Of course. At that time, the monkey-faced old man was deceived by young Master Hao's father and did not know the truth. There was also an old man with an aquiline nose. He was also a hidden powerhouse of the Pill Pagoda. Back then, when Qin Feiyang was wandering in the Forgotten Continent, they were two fake gods. As for their current cultivation, needless to say, they had already entered the war god realm in the miracle. Behind the monkey-faced old man was a stone staircase. Above the stone staircase was the main pagoda. Buzz! Suddenly, the altar shone brightly. The monkey-faced old man opened his eyes and looked at the altar. There was a trace of suspicion in his eyes. Soon, 4 people and 1 wolf appeared on the altar. Olji. The monkey-faced old man was stunned and said in surprise, Why did you suddenly come back? Can't I come back? Do you really think I was sent to the 9th region? Yi Shu was dissatisfied. The monkey-faced old man laughed and looked at Qin Chen and Lu Xiaofei. He smiled and said, You guys are here too. Yes. The 3 nodded and landed in front of the monkey-faced old man. They said respectfully, Greetings, senior. No need to be so polite. The monkey-faced old man waved his hand and looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. A trace of suspicion flashed in his eyes. He said, Olji, who are they? Take a guess. There will be a prize if you guess correctly. Yi Shu chuckled. The monkey-faced old man was speechless. Still keeping him in suspense. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf seriously. After a while, he looked at Yi Shu and said, Are they the young people you took a fancy to and specially brought to the main pagoda? How is that possible? Yi Shu shook his head. Then the monkey-faced old man frowned and looked at Qin Chen and Lu Xiaofei. He said, They are from the great Qin. You guessed half of it. Yi Shu smiled. The monkey-faced old man said impatiently. I said, don't be mysterious. Just tell me. Yi Shu whispered in the monkey-faced old man's ear. What? The monkey-faced old man suddenly stood up and stared at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. His face was full of disbelief. Yi Shu said, I knew you would have such an expression. How is that possible? The monkey-faced old man muttered. Senior, I didn't scare you, did I? Qin Feiyang smiled. You don't say, I was really scared. The monkey-faced old man smiled bitterly and looked at the man and wolf. He shook his head and said, you guys came back too suddenly. The white-eyed wolf said proudly, we want to catch you guys off guard. Heard about it. The monkey-faced old man shook his head and laughed. Suddenly. The monkey-faced old man seemed to have thought of something and asked, what about Miss and Rushuang? Why don't I see them? They didn't come back. Yi Shu shook his head regretfully. Why didn't they come back? The monkey-faced old man was stunned, and his face suddenly changed. Could it be that they, don't, Qin Feiyang hurriedly stopped and said, great-grandmother and the others are fine now. Don't think too much. The monkey-faced old man asked, since they're fine, why didn't they come back together? This, I can't explain it clearly in a short time. It's a coincidence that I can come back. Qin Feiyang smiled. All right, as long as Miss and the others are doing well in the ancient world, that's more important than anything. Yi Shu patted the monkey-faced old man's shoulder. Are you sure you're not lying to me? The monkey-faced old man looked at Qin Feiyang. Why would I lie to you? Qin Feiyang was helpless. All right then. The monkey-faced old man nodded and smiled. It's rare for you to come back. Old man Yi and I will accompany you around. It's an honor. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Elder He. The monkey-faced old man looked at the main tower above and shouted. Immediately, a middle-aged man came down like lightning. This old man has something to do. Guard the altar for this old man. The monkey-faced old man said. Yes. The middle-aged man respectfully replied. By the way, where is Gongsun Bei now? The monkey-faced old man asked. The main tower master is in the meeting hall. Follow. The monkey-faced old man looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Let's go. Qin Feiyang nodded. Immediately. A group of people stepped on the stone stairs and walked up the main tower step by step. Who is this young man? Even old man Yi and the others have to accompany him personally. Elder He looked at Qin Feiyang's back with eyes full of disbelief. The main tower had also been expanded a lot. However, the 10 pill towers that Qin Feiyang was familiar with were still there. Along the way, they met many disciples of the main tower. There were both men and women, and all of them were in high spirits. The main tower had always been a supreme existence in the Forgotten Continent. To be able to enter the main tower was naturally a great honor. However, at this moment, when they saw Qin Feiyang, these young disciples could not help but stop and look. What's the situation? Old man Yi and the others are accompanying him personally. This person, I have never seen him before. But why does he look like he has a background? And that big black dog, look, that arrogant attitude, that disregard of its relatives, I feel that old man Yi and the others are just small followers in front of it. The disciples whispered in each other's ears. However, Qin Feiyang and the others turned a deaf ear to these discussions. They walked past the disciples one by one with an indifferent expression. The number of disciples in our main tower is now twice as many as when you were in the main tower. It can be said that there are many talents. The monkey-faced old man smiled. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. The white-eyed wolf asked curiously, then what position do Wang Zicheng and the others hold in the main tower? They don't have an actual position, that is, they stay in the main tower all year round. The monkey-faced old man shook his head. Then, the white-eyed wolf glanced at Qin Feiyang hesitantly and asked, "What about Wang Yu, and young Master Hao?" Chapter 2795. Wang Yu has also been in the main tower, replacing Gongsun Bei as the Lord of the Law Enforcement Hall. She's been working hard all these years. As for young Master Hao, we haven't seen him for a long time. The monkey-faced old man shook his head. You haven't seen him? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. Yes. Over the past few hundred years, he's been training in the endless ocean most of the time. The monkey-faced old man nodded. The endless ocean, the white-eyed wolf murmured, frowning. Could his training in the endless ocean have something to do with his father? His father? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Have you forgotten? His father was sealed in the endless sea, Yi Zichen said. The white-eyed wolf said. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and nodded. That's a good thing. After the great battle, all the strong enemies were killed, but then 3 pieces of flesh were found under a pile of rocks. The owners of the 3 pieces of flesh were Zhuge Shenfeng, the Grand Tutor, and the Chief Tower Master. At that time, the inner demons suggested keeping them as stepping stones for the child Qin Haotian. Later, after some discussion, everyone agreed to it. However, the Grand Tutor's piece of flesh was destroyed by them, leaving only the Chief Tower Master and Zhuge Shenfeng. At that time, Qin Yuan personally went to seal it. The location of the seal was the endless ocean of the Forgotten Continent and the reincarnation ocean of the Great Qin. Now, the white-eyed wolf was obviously suspicious. Was young Master Hao training in the endless ocean to save the Chief Tower Master? That doesn't matter. The seal was set up by Uncle Yuan. With young Master Hao's strength, he can't break the seal. However, Qin Feiyang turned to look at Yi Shu and the monkey-faced old man. Has young Master Hao changed in the past few years? For example, in terms of personality. The other changes are not big, but he has become taciturn. Yi Shu said. That's for sure. After such a big change, it would be strange if he could still be as carefree as before. Qin Feiyang said. Furthermore, his hatred for you doesn't seem to have dissipated. Yi Shu said. Let him be. In any case, I don't have any killing intent towards him. Besides, the gap between us will only widen in the future. His opponent is no longer me, but my brothers and sisters. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Yi Shu and the monkey-faced old man looked at each other and shook their heads. In this world, the only person who could say something like this was probably this kid. This was not because he was looking down on young Master Hao, but because he was absolutely confident and domineering. The two of them were no longer on the same level. Not to mention young Master Hao, even they could only look up to Qin Feiyang. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and asked, Is Wang Yu married? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and turned to look at the white-eyed wolf. What was this damned wolf cub thinking about? No. The monkey-faced old man and Yi Shu glanced at Qin Feiyang and shook their heads at the white-eyed wolf. She's not married yet. The white-eyed wolf was surprised. There are a lot of people pursuing her over the years. Her grandfather, Wang Su, and her father have been urging her, but she has always been silent. We think she's probably not going to marry for the rest of her life. Yi Shu shook his head and sighed. In fact, Wang Yu was really a good girl. Whether it was her ability or her character, she was 1 in 100. Unfortunately, fate played tricks on people. Wang Yu is not wrong, and Wang Su is not wrong either. It's Wang Yuanshan's fault. If it weren't for Wang Yuanshan, maybe Wang Yu and I might really be together. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Yes. At that time, you had already tried to accept her. And she had also given a lot to you. At that time, we all thought that you would definitely be together. But we didn't expect Wang Yuanshan to appear halfway. The white-eyed wolf said. This might be fate. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Fate was indeed a mysterious thing. Many things were always beyond one's expectations. They chatted along the way. The group stopped in front of a hall. Inside the hall, more than 20 people were sitting at the table, seemingly discussing something. This was the main tower's conference hall. Qin Feiyang secretly checked with his divine sense on the way, so he knew that Gongsun Bei and the others were now in the conference hall. The group stood outside and didn't make a sound. However, the people in the hall noticed Qin Feiyang and the others. Because the door wasn't closed. Sitting at the top was a man in white, about 27 or 28 years old, sitting upright in the chair, exuding a calm temperament. This person was Gongsun Bei. Below, the leader was a woman wearing a long black dress, her hair was tied up, giving off a cold aura. She was Wang Yu, Wang Zicheng, Raging Bull, Viper, the Spirit Empress, and the others were also there. Everyone had shed the frivolity of the past, becoming mature and steady, exuding the aura of a superior. Apart from these people, the rest were the upper echelons of the main tower. For example, the tower masters and peak masters. Among them, Qin Feiyang also saw two familiar faces, which were Wang Yu's parents. Because Wang Yu's parents used to be the peak master of Saint Peak and Sacred Tower Master. Gongsun Bei looked at Qin Feiyang and the others outside the door, and a trace of suspicion crept into his eyes. Then, he looked at the people present and smiled. That's all for today's meeting. Everyone nodded, immediately got up, and walked toward the door. Greetings, elders. Walking out of the door, everyone bowed to Yi Shu and the monkey-faced old man. At the same time, they cast a puzzled look at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Like the other disciples, they found it a little unbelievable that Yi Shu and the monkey-faced old man accompanied them. Who was this person? Then, we'll be leaving too. Wang Zicheng and the others also got up and looked at Gongsun Bei. Okay. Gongsun Bei nodded. You guys don't have to leave. Yi Shu walked into the hall and looked at them with a smile. Huh? Wang Zicheng and the others were stunned and looked at Yi Shu suspiciously. The monkey-faced old man, Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, Qin Chen, and Lu Xiaofei followed into the hall under everyone's puzzled gazes. Wang Yu did not leave either. Her cold face suddenly had a trace of a smile as she walked toward the Lu siblings and said, "You two are here. Hee hee. Auntie Yu is getting more and more beautiful." Lu Xiaojia hugged Wang Yu's arm affectionately. They're quite close. The white-eyed wolf was surprised. Last year, Auntie Yu made a special trip to Great Qin to celebrate little Jia's birthday. Lu Xiaofei whispered. I see. Then why do you call her auntie? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Mother told us to call her that. She said that it's affectionate. Lu Xiaofei thought to himself. I'm really speechless. Obviously, you should call her auntie. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. It's just a title. It doesn't matter. Lu Xiaofei shrugged and ran to Wang Yu, saying, Auntie, a day apart feels like 3 years. I really miss you so much. Brat. Wang Yu glared at Lu Xiaofei, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, and asked in puzzlement, They are? They are, Lu Xiaojia wanted to say it out loud without thinking. However, Lu Xiaofei hurriedly stopped his sister and transmitted his voice, Children, don't talk nonsense. Lu Xiaojia was slightly stunned. Then, she looked at Wang Yu and Qin Feiyang. Her big eyes blinked and gradually revealed a look of realization. What are you siblings doing? Wang Yu looked at them suspiciously. Nothing. You guys talk. Don't worry about us. We'll just watch from the side. Lu Xiaofei hurriedly pulled Lu Xiaojia and turned around to retreat to Qin Chen's side. Seeing this, Wang Yu could not help but feel angry. What was going on? You let's go. A voice sounded outside the door. It was Wang Yu's mother. Okay. Wang Yu nodded. Xiao Yu, Yi Shu was about to speak, but he was stopped by Qin Feiyang, who shook his head and said, "Let her go. Aren't you guys going to talk?" Yi Shu looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. With my relationship with her, if we meet face to face, it will only make the atmosphere more awkward. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. All right. Yi Shu nodded. After Wang Yu left with her parents, Gongsun Bei stood up and said with a smile, "What are you two doing? Acting so mysterious?" "Yes. Who are this man and dog? And they let you personally lead the way? They're quite influential." Wang Zicheng looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Of course. The white-eyed wolf jumped up and onto the table. With an arrogant and domineering attitude, he shouted, "All of you, kneel down and sing, 'Conquer,' to this big brother." Ah! Gongsun Bei and the others were stunned. Was there something wrong with this dog? And from the looks of it, it seemed to be quite sick. What's with your reaction? Believe it or not, this big brother will kill you. The white-eyed wolf shouted. Forget it. This is the main tower. If you behave atrociously again, I'll throw you out directly. The big barbarian bull stretched its muscles, and the muscles all over its body concealed a terrifying power. Ouch! How dare you be arrogant in front of this big brother? The white-eyed wolf slapped with his paw and shouted, "Get down." The big bull was stunned. He looked at Yi Shu and the monkey-faced old man and asked, "Can I do it?" "Go ahead." Yi Shu chuckled. A cold light flashed in the big bull's eyes. He raised his bow-like fist and smashed it at the white-eyed wolf. The terrifying power hidden in his body surged out like a torrent. Boom! The fist and the paw collided. The great barbarian bull immediately lay down and heavily smashed into the ground, causing the entire great meeting hall to shake. What? Gongsun Bei, Wang Zicheng, and the others stared at the big bull with their mouths agape. It was defeated just like that? How was it? The white-eyed wolf stood on the table, his eyes full of pride. So strong. The big bull got up and stared at the white-eyed wolf in surprise. Not just you, all of you together can only take a single paw. The white-eyed wolf said proudly. Arrogant. Wang Zicheng was furious and shouted, "Kill it and eat dog meat." Boom! The aura of the group suddenly erupted. The people outside were alarmed and looked at the conference hall. TSK. The white-eyed wolf smiled disdainfully, raised his paw, and gently lowered it. A trace of divine power appeared. The aura of the group collapsed. Wang Zicheng and the others were also sent flying. Although the white-eyed wolf was merciful and did not suffer any fatal injuries, they were all in a sorry state. Chapter 2796. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile. Although they were not as strong as the white-eyed wolf, they had been quite united after all these years. Unity was what he wanted to see. However, Wang Zicheng and the others were stunned. Gongsun Bei was the same. This large black dog was too ridiculously strong, wasn't it? What do you think? Do you admit defeat? The white-eyed wolf looked at them proudly. Wang Zicheng sized up the white-eyed wolf, walked to Yi Shu's side, and asked in a low voice, "Old man Yi, where did this damn dog come from?" "Haha." Yi Shu smiled but did not say anything. "Can you not keep us in suspense?" Wang Zicheng was dissatisfied. Although the other party was very strong, he clearly had no ill intentions. However, their status in the Forgotten Continent was not low now. They knew all the slightly famous powerhouses, but they had never heard of this big black dog. Open your little eyes and take a good look at who I am. The white-eyed wolf grinned, and his appearance immediately began to change. First, his hair turned from black to gold. Then, two small golden wings appeared on his back. Wang Zicheng and the others stared at the white-eyed wolf. Seeing the white-eyed wolf's transformation, a trace of surprise gradually crept into their eyes. When the white-eyed wolf completely reverted to his true form, the others immediately froze on the ground, their eyes filled with disbelief. Ha! The white-eyed wolf grinned and looked at them. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Fuck, it's you, you bastard. Wang Zicheng came to his senses and immediately cursed. He ran to the white-eyed wolf and sized him up, as if to confirm whether he was real or not. White-eyed wolf, Gongsun Bei was also stunned on the spot, muttering to himself. What's going on? What happened? Suddenly, a suspicious voice sounded from the outside. Everyone quivered and turned to look, only to see Wang Yu, and her parents return. They had returned because they heard the commotion. However, when they arrived outside the main hall, they immediately found that the atmosphere was not right. Following closely, they looked at the white-eyed wolf and were stunned. Wasn't this it? At this moment, the entire hall was dead silent. On one hand, it was the identity of the white-eyed wolf. On the other hand, the return of Wang Yuer and her parents undoubtedly made the atmosphere even more awkward. Qin Feiyang sighed inwardly. In the end, he still had to face it. Everyone present was smart enough to guess the identity of the white-eyed wolf once he revealed his true identity. As expected, when everyone came back to their senses, they all looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, no longer hiding his true appearance. Qin Feiyang, young master, Gongsun Bei, Wang Zicheng, Wang Yuer, and her parents all stared fixedly at Qin Feiyang's face. This face. Who could forget it? Long time no see. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang, Gongsun Bei shuddered and quickly walked in front of Qin Feiyang. He grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulders with both hands and said excitedly, I didn't expect it to be you. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, then I wonder if brother Gongsun welcomes me. Of course, Gongsun Bei nodded, but before he could say anything, a cold voice rang out. My chief tower doesn't welcome you. Get lost immediately. Everyone immediately looked at Wang Yuer's father. Because the person who spoke was Wang Yuer's father. Father, the chief tower is here. You don't have the right to speak. Wang Yuer also turned her head to look with a trace of displeasure on her face. It's fine. Gongsun Bei waved his hand, looked at Wang Yuer's father, and sighed. It's been hundreds of years. No matter how deep the grudge is, it should be over by now. Over by now? How can it be so simple? Wang Yuer's father snorted coldly. That's where you're wrong. We all saw what happened to Wang Yuanshan with our own eyes. It's all his fault. At that time, Qin Feiyang was already very kind. Because he gave Wang Yuanshan more than once, but Wang Yuanshan didn't cherish it. If it were us, we would have killed him too. Yi Shu said. Wang Yuer's father couldn't help but fall silent. Wang Yuer glanced at Qin Feiyang, then turned to look at her parents and said, let's go. Yuer, the two of them quickly looked at Wang Yuer. Enough, it's really enough. Wang Yuer sighed and left without looking back. Her back looked extremely sad. Wang Yuer's parents looked coldly at Qin Feiyang, then turned and chased after Wang Yuer. Sigh. Gongsun Bei also sighed deeply. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. I'm not blaming myself. I just feel a little sorry for them. As a big shot of the Forgotten Continent, they can't even distinguish between right and wrong. Qin Feiyang shook his head. They're actually pardonable. After all, they're Wang Yuanshan's descendants. You haven't seen Wang Su. He's been drinking all these years. He's no longer as elegant as he used to be. Gong Sun Bei shook his head. Drinking all day? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. Thinking back, he was such an awe-inspiring old man. And now, he's depressed all day long. His heart is like dead ashes. If you see him again, you probably won't recognize him. Gong Sun Bei said. It's his own fault. Who's to blame? White-eyed Wolf pursed his lips. Gong Sun Bei sighed. Even so, it's still pitiful. That's enough. The young master finally came back. Let's not talk about these disappointing things. Viper said. Yes, yes, yes. The big barbarian bull nodded repeatedly. He ran to Qin Feiyang and said with a silly smile, Young master, when did you come back? Did you bring back any gifts for us? Ah. Qin Feiyang looked at the big barbarian bull in shock and said, asking for gifts as soon as you open your mouth. This isn't your style. Of course, Qin Feiyang knew about the big barbarian bull. Don't be fooled by his charmingly naive and well-developed appearance. In fact, he was very shrewd. Someone as smart as Wang Zicheng had been schemed against by him many times. Hearing this, the big barbarian bull smiled embarrassedly. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and said with a smile, I'm really gratified to see that you guys are so capable and still so united. You're kidding. We're your soldiers after all. How can we embarrass you? Viper said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He looked at Viper and asked, Are you still studying the use of poison? Don't you know me? I'm loyal to one person. Viper said. Loyal to one person. Qin Feiyang shook his head speechlessly and asked with a smile, Have you achieved anything now? Of course. Viper smiled proudly and said, I can even poison the god of war to death now. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said speechlessly, Is this something to be proud of? Isn't this something to be proud of? Viper asked. I know an old man who uses poison in the ancient world. The poison he created can even poison the overlords of the Nine Heaven State. Qin Feiyang was naturally talking about the Grand Elder of the Nine Heaven Palace. The deputy pavilion master of the Ru Bao Pavilion was so strong, but he was still crippled by the Grand Elder. It was obvious. How terrifying was the Grand Elder's use of poison. Nine Heaven State. Viper was stunned. Gong Sun Bei, Wang Zicheng and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Above the God of War is the Divine Lord, above the Divine Lord is the Paragon God, and above the Paragon God is the Nine Heaven State. Think about it, how big is the gap between you and that old man? Qin Feiyang looked at Viper and smiled. Viper was stunned, there are so many realms above the God of War. Yeah. Qin Feiyang nodded. Viper asked, Then what is your and Brother Wolf's cultivation level now? Us. I'm really not talented, I've just stepped into the Nine Heaven State. Qin Feiyang laughed. Ah. The group of people looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. After not seeing him for a few hundred years, this guy had also learned how to act cool. However, Qin Feiyang's self-destruction of his cultivation had really scared them quite a bit. Who would have thought that this man and wolf would have already become so strong? It was no wonder that they were no match for the white-eyed wolf's claws when they joined forces. This was an absolute suppression. Are you guys done? Qin Feiyang looked at them and asked. We're done. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang laughed, Then let's go to the land of inheritance. Why are we going to the land of inheritance? Gong Sun Bei was suspicious. He originally thought that Qin Feiyang would say that everyone would gather at the restaurant, but he didn't expect that they would actually go to the land of inheritance. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. I haven't been back for too long, I want to take a look. Alright then. Gong Sunbei couldn't figure out Qin Feiyang's thoughts, so he didn't ask any more and opened a portal. Immediately after, everyone entered in a single file. The land of inheritance. Qin Feiyang had once obtained the experience of the soul refining technique here. There were a total of 4 statues here. The first statue was of the first-generation Chief Pagoda Master, Tan Tai Li's father. The second statue was of the first-generation Chief Pagoda Master's disciple. The third statue was of Tan Tai Li herself. The fourth statue was of Qin Batian. At this moment, in the square where the statue was, an old man was sitting cross-legged. He had the cultivation of a god of war. He was the old man with a hooked nose. Yi Shu ran to the 9th area. The monkey-faced old man was in the Pill Pagoda Square, while the old man with a hooked nose stayed in the land of inheritance. Sensing the aura of Qin Feiyang and the others, the old man with a hooked nose opened his eyes. When he saw Qin Feiyang in the white-eyed wolf, his gaze trembled. Greetings, old senior. Qin Feiyang bowed. I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. The old man with a hooked nose hurriedly got up and waved his hand. What a joke. Qin Feiyang was the savior of the great Qin and the forgotten continent. Even if he had to bow, he should be the one bowing to Qin Feiyang. After not seeing you for so many years, old senior has become more polite. Qin Feiyang smiled. The old man with a hooked nose shook his head and smiled. There was nothing he could do about it. If it were someone else, he could accept this bow with a clear conscience. But the person he was facing was Qin Feiyang. This was absolutely impossible. After all, back then, Qin Feiyang had sacrificed himself to save countless people who had died tragically. Such a noble act was enough to earn anyone's respect. When did you come back? Where's Miss and Rushuang? After the old man with a hooked nose calmed down, he looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. A few days ago. As for great-grandmother and the others, they're still in the ancient realm. They're doing well. Qin Feiyang smiled. He knew that the old man with a hooked nose would definitely ask about Tan Tai Li and Qin Rushuang's current situation like Yi Shu and the others, so he said it in advance. That's good. The old man with a hooked nose smiled and asked, then why did you and the white-eyed wolf come back this time? I missed you, so I came back to see you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Haha, the old man with a hooked nose laughed, clearly not believing him. It's true. Qin Feiyang said. Is that so? The old man with a hooked nose was taken aback and smiled. Then it's our honor. Although hundreds of years had passed, this young man was still the same as before. He did not put on any airs and gave people a sense of familiarity. Chapter 2797. As you can see, the land of legacy hasn't changed at all. What's there to see? Gong Sunbei looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. But here, there are memories that belong to me. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 4 statues and smiled faintly. Memories, Gong Sunbei murmured. The past emerged in his mind like a tide. Indeed. There were memories of Qin Feiyang here. Back then, Qin Feiyang obtained the legacy here and became the disciple of the Chief Pagoda Master. He also became the successor of the next Chief Pagoda Master. But because of the selfishness of the previous Chief Pagoda Master, he once wanted to kill Qin Feiyang. In fact, at that time, Qin Feiyang was not interested in the position of the Chief Pagoda Master at all. It was completely the imagination of the previous Chief Pagoda Master. It was also because of this that the conflict intensified. In the end, they were like archenemies. Of course. Gong Sunbei also knew that even if there was no such thing, Qin Feiyang and the previous Chief Pagoda Master would sooner or later be angry. Because the previous chief pagoda master had almost killed Tan Tai Li. As Tan Tai Li's junior, Qin Feiyang naturally could not stand by and watch. Thinking back, how good was my relationship with Mr. Hao? We were like brothers. Unfortunately, fate is also playing tricks on people. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. At that time, Mr. Hao had given him a lot of help. And at that time, whether it was Qin Feiyang or Mr. Hao, they had no illusions about the position of the chief pagoda master. It was because of the chief pagoda master's self-righteousness that everything changed. Perhaps this is the cycle of cause and effect. Gong Sun Bei sighed. The sins that had been committed in the past would be retribution sooner or later. The chief pagoda master was the best example. Because of his jealousy of Qin Batian, because of his desire for power, he ruthlessly killed Tan Tai Li. Later, Tan Tai Li returned and made him lose everything. This was the so-called, where there is cause, there is effect. Cause and effect, Qin Feiyang murmured. Yes. Like Qin Haotian. Back then, he had killed Qin Haotian's mother. Now, Qin Haotian wanted to take revenge on him. Like his father. His father had driven him out of the imperial capital and crippled his cultivation. Later, he had entered the imperial capital to seek revenge. And, the dragons wanted to plunder Qin Feiyang and Qin Baishan's bloodline power. Qin Feiyang and Qin Baishan's revenge was the result. Another example, he saved the common people because of karma. Now, the people of the world were grateful to him. This was the result. All of a sudden, Qin Feiyang seemed to have understood something, and his body quietly filled with an obscure aura. The white-eyed wolf was the first to notice Qin Feiyang's abnormality. He looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. At this moment, he felt that Qin Feiyang had become very ethereal. He was clearly right in front of him, but he seemed to be unable to capture him. What was going on? That's right. Everything in this world can't escape karma. It doesn't matter if it's a human or a ferocious beast. Every living thing in this world must have a cause and effect. In fact, this cause and effect is also a kind of power. Furthermore, this power seems to be inextricably linked together by thousands of threads. In this way, cause and effect are formed. Qin Feiyang whispered and slowly raised his arm. A wisp of almost transparent flame slowly condensed. This wisp of flame exuded an incomparably mysterious and profound aura. At this moment, the surrounding void began to distort. Gong Sun Bei and the others finally noticed Qin Feiyang's abnormality, and they all had a look of surprise. This is, the aura of the power of law. The white-eyed wolf stared at the flame, and his eyes suddenly widened. The power of law. Gong Sun Bei and the others were taken aback and turned to look at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. The power of law is a kind of power that surpasses divine power. For example, the time array evolved from the power of time. Little Qin Zi has already comprehended the power of law of light in the ancient realm. And now, he seems to have comprehended another power of law. The white-eyed wolf explained, his eyes full of disbelief. There really wasn't any sign at all. Could this be the so-called epiphany? At a certain point in time, when a person came into contact with a matter or a sentence, they could enter a state of enlightenment. This kind of enlightenment was called epiphany. Where there's cause, there's effect, Qin Feiyang murmured, and seemed to have awakened from the state of epiphany. He lowered his head and looked at the flame in his palm, and a smile crept onto his face. Little Qin Zi, this is? The white-eyed wolf hurriedly asked. The power of cause and effect, it's the law of cause and effect, Qin Feiyang smiled. The law of cause and effect. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He knew about the law of slaughter, the laws of light and darkness, and even the law of life and death, but this was the first time he had heard about the law of cause and effect. I didn't know about the law of cause and effect before. But when I just had my epiphany, I suddenly realized that everything in this world can't compare to the law of cause and effect. So, this law of cause and effect is also a kind of power. Qin Feiyang smiled. Even if the law of cause and effect really exists, isn't it too simple to comprehend a power of law? The white-eyed wolf was speechless. There's no time or place for epiphany. You'll comprehend it when you come. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. With a thought, the flame in his palm disappeared into his body. Monster. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. He turned to look at Gongsun Bei and said, "Thank you, brother Gongsun." "Why are you thanking me?" Gongsun Bei looked at him in confusion. Every kind of epiphany is stimulated at an unintentional moment. And just now, that law of cause and effect you mentioned is equivalent to a trigger point, which is also the so-called fuse. In other words, if it weren't for your words, I wouldn't have been able to comprehend the law of cause and effect. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. So that's how it is. Gongsun Bei suddenly understood and smiled. Then, this is also the reason why you're so talented. Epiphany doesn't have much to do with one's talent. It's evolved from rich experience and comprehension of the world. Qin Feiyang said. Rich experience, comprehension of the world, everyone couldn't help but ponder over this sentence. They didn't quite understand it. Don't blindly think about it. With your current ability, you won't be able to understand the true meaning. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. The group smiled bitterly. Everyone understood the meaning of this sentence, but they just couldn't understand the concept behind it. He felt that it was just a very ordinary sentence. The white-eyed wolf asked, "Do you know how many people in the entire ancient world have comprehended the law of cause and effect?" "How many?" Everyone looked at him curiously. The population of the ancient world is innumerable, and there are countless experts. Among them, there are also a lot of people who are stronger than little Qin Zi. But the number of people who have comprehended the law of cause and effect can be counted on one hand. It's not an exaggeration to say that even undead stage experts who have surpassed the 9 heaven stage will find it difficult to comprehend the law of cause and effect in their lifetime. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Undead stage? Everyone was surprised. Undead stage experts can destroy the entire Great Qin and Forgotten Continent with a wave of their hand. How terrifying do you think undead stage experts are? The white-eyed wolf said. So powerful. Everyone looked at each other. It was completely beyond their imagination. The white-eyed wolf isn't exaggerating. Among the experts we know, any one of them has the strength to destroy the world. Qin Feiyang nodded. Is the ancient world the biggest world in this world? Wang Zicheng asked. The biggest, Qin Feiyang murmured and shook his head. I don't dare to say for sure. What do you mean? Everyone was puzzled. If it was before, I would tell you with certainty that the ancient world is the biggest and strongest world. But now, when Qin Feiyang said this, he couldn't help but look up at the sky. His deep eyes seemed to be able to peek into the world beyond the sky. There was a 4th level in the divine level, and the small beast also said that there were as many undead stage experts on the 4th level as dogs. If the small beast wasn't exaggerating, then it was hard to imagine how terrifying the 4th level was. Even the ancient realm was probably just a small world the size of a pellet in front of the 4th level. Of course. Before seeing it with their own eyes, they couldn't jump to conclusions. After all, the small beast's words weren't necessarily true. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was silent, everyone tactfully didn't ask anymore. Because even if they asked and knew, they could only stare. However, after understanding how powerful this world was, their goals were different. In the past, their vision was limited to the Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent. They felt that it was good enough for everyone to step into the War God stage. But now, their goal was to reach a higher realm. For example, Sir God and Paragon God. Although the chances were slim, they still wanted to try. Fire Lotus, give me 10 crystal veins and spirit veins. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and secretly transmitted his voice. I've already prepared them for you. Fire Lotus's voice immediately sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. You've already prepared them? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and shook his head with a bitter smile. This girl really knew him too well. She didn't even need him to say anything and she knew what he wanted to do. To be honest. Probably even the Emperor and Lu Qiuyu didn't know him as well as Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and 10 crystal veins and spirit veins immediately appeared. The energy next to them immediately surged in all directions with the land of inheritance as the center. This, Gongsun Bei and the others were shocked and raised their heads to look at the spirit veins and crystal veins. Because at this moment, their cultivations were actually loosening. Do you still remember the soul stone? Qin Feiyang looked at Gongsun Bei and asked with a smile. Soul stone. Gongsun Bei was stunned. After thinking for a while, he said, Are you talking about the soul stone that you got from the Guo family when you entered the ancient world? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Of course I remember. Back then, you were able to step into the war god stage so quickly because of the soul stone. Gongsun Bei said. The soul stone is produced from these spirit veins. Qin Feiyang pointed at the 10 spirit veins and smiled. What? Gongsun Bei's eyes trembled. The other 10 are crystal veins. The divine crystals produced by them have the effect of recovering divine power. I'll give these to your main tower. Qin Feiyang said. This is also very valuable. That karma cycle just now, I just said it casually. You don't have to thank me. Gongsun Bei hurriedly waved his hand. Ah. Qin Feiyang looked at Gongsun Bei in shock and said, You think I'm giving you these spirit veins because I comprehended the law of karma? Isn't that the case? Gongsun Bei was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. Chapter 2798. Of course not. The main reason I came to the land of inheritance is to give you the soul line and crystal veins. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. I see. Gongsun Bei nodded. The main tower is too big, and there are too many disciples. The energy of the soul line and crystal veins can't be taken care of. So, I think it's best to place the soul line and crystal veins here. As long as the soul line and crystal veins are properly placed, this place will instantly become a true cultivation holy land. At that time, you can let disciples with good talent and character come here to cultivate. Qin Feiyang said. Makes sense. Gongsun Bei nodded and clasped his hands. Thank you so much for giving us such a great gift as soon as you come back. Qin Feiyang smiled. If you really want to thank me, then follow me to the ancient world. The ancient world? Gongsun Bei was shocked. Yi Shu, the monkey-faced old man, and the old man with the aquiline nose were also stunned. Then. The three of them looked anxious. They looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Brat, you can't poach our people. It had been hundreds of years, but this kid was still thinking about Gongsun Bei. There was nothing they could do. Gongsun Bei was so outstanding. I'm just joking. Look at how nervous you are. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. You can make such a joke. Our aging hearts won't be able to withstand it. Yi Shu rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang laughed and jumped into the sky. Then, he waved his hand, and the entire land of inheritance was uprooted. After the crystal veins and soul line were placed and everything was restored, Yi Shu set up a divine power barrier. Soon, the place was filled with white mist. This was the energy of the soul line and crystal veins. Such terrifying energy. I can feel that if I cultivate here, I can break through in less than half a year. The aquiline-nosed old man sighed. Yi Shu and the monkey-faced old man nodded. Qin Feiyang, this brat, was truly their lucky star. There's no need to rush into seclusion. Qin Feiyang has finally returned. Naturally, we have to hold a welcoming dinner for him first. Gongsun Beidao laughed. Right. Old man Yi, quickly go to the Longphone Pavilion and make arrangements. We want to book the entire place tonight. The monkey-faced old man looked at Yi Shu and said. There's a fee for booking the whole place. Yi Shu said. Charging for our own people. You really are a stingy old man. The monkey-faced old man said with disdain. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and asked, is the Dragon Wind Tower still around? This Longphone Pavilion also contained many memories that belonged to him. Of course. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is a restaurant that Ruo Shuang built single-handedly. How can this old man let it disappear? Furthermore, right now, this old man is the tower master behind the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Yi Shu said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization, then shook his head and said, since you're the landlord, why do you charge for it? It's not easy for you to come back. Of course, this old man has to rip you off. Yi Shu said. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. Of course. He also knew that this was just a joke. Alright, this old man will go to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion first. You guys accompany Feiyang to walk around. Yi Shu smiled and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, in the years that you weren't here, our main tower has changed quite a lot. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. After Yi Shu left, Lu Xiaofei rolled his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, Uncle, then my sister and I will also go to the city to walk around. Qin Feiyang was stunned and reminded, don't run around. We won't. We're going to find Sidu Feiyang. When the time comes, we'll go directly to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to find you. Lu Xiaofei said. White-Eyed Wolf said, then you can call Fatso and Li Yan. Okay. Lu Xiaofei nodded and turned to look at Qin Chen, laughing, brother, let's go together. Not going. Qin Chen shook his head. This guy, you're always so boring. Lu Xiaofei pursed his lips and ran out of the main tower with Lu Xiaojia. Gongsun Bei looked at the back of the brother and sister and said with a smile, looking at these juniors, do you feel old all of a sudden? Yes. Time really flies. Qin Feiyang sighed. Then you should also work hard. Don't wait until Lu Xiaofei's generation has children, and you're not married yet. Gongsun Bei teased. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and looked at Gongsun Bei, saying, you have the nerve to talk about me? You seem to be older than me, but I don't see you married and have children. Ah. Gongsun Bei was stunned. At this time, he really couldn't refute. Let's go and walk around. Qin Feiyang smiled, and divine power surged out, forming a mask on his face. What are you doing? Wang Zicheng looked at him suspiciously. Avoiding some unnecessary trouble. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's true. Wang Zicheng nodded. If the news of Qin Feiyang's return spread in the main tower, it would definitely cause an unprecedented sensation. Next. The group of people strolled around the main tower, talking and laughing, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. As for the white-eyed wolf, he turned back into the big black dog. However, although he hid his identity, it still caused quite a stir. Gongsun Bei, the tower master of the main tower. Wang Zicheng and the others, although they didn't have an actual position in the main tower, they were still famous. The monkey-faced old man and the hook-nosed old man, needless to say. In the entire forgotten continent, they were supreme existences. Such a group of big shots actually accompanied a man and a dog to stroll around the main tower. For the disciples of the main pagoda, this was simply a shocking matter. So now, everyone was guessing Qin Feiyang's identity. Who exactly was this divine being? Unknowingly, the group of people walked in front of a lake, and there was a small island in the middle of the lake, with green trees and wild flowers everywhere, like a paradise isolated from the world. This place, Qin Feiyang looked up at the small island in the middle of the lake, and the dusty memories involuntarily surfaced in his mind. This was the place where he used to live, Soothing Lake. At that time, there was only him, young Master Hao, and Wang Yuer in the entire Soothing Lake. He still remembered that Wang Yuer had snatched a part of the soul refining technique, and in order to snatch back this part, he quietly hid in Wang Yuer's courtyard. Because he had activated the concealment technique at that time, Wang Yuer initially thought it was the ghost incident, and she was quite frightened. Now that he thought about it, he couldn't help but want to laugh. Qin Feiyang looked at Gong Sunbei and asked, "Is there anyone living in Soothing Lake now?" "No." Gong Sunbei shook his head. "Then let's go and take a look." Qin Feiyang took a step forward, walking on the surface of the lake, step by step toward the small island. The white-eyed wolf followed behind. "Brother Gongsun, why did you lie to him? Wang Yuer is clearly still living on this island." The Spirit Queen transmitted her voice. "His memories are here. If he knows that Wang Yuer is still here, will he go over?" "Definitely not. Besides, he and Wang Yuer should have come to an end." Gong Sunbei sighed inwardly. Come to an end? Didn't they already come to an end at Wang Yuanshan's funeral back then? Wang Zicheng frowned. Gong Sunbei transmitted his voice, "I'm referring to the knot in Yuer's heart." "Not in her heart," the few of them mumbled. "Yes. You all know about Yuer's state all these years. Although she looks very strong on the surface, there has always been a hidden pain in her heart. Otherwise, she wouldn't have become so cold all these years. Therefore, when Qin Feiyang returns this time, I sincerely hope that he can help her open up the knot in her heart and walk out of the past." Gong Sunbei said. "I see." Wang Zicheng and the others were enlightened. "Let's go." Gong Sunbei smiled and slowly followed him. The other places in the main tower had more or less changed. Only this calm heart lake, apart from the flowers and trees, was the same as before. Even the courtyard and pavilion were the same as before. Qin Feiyang scanned the familiar things with a smile on his face. But suddenly, the smile on his face froze. He saw a woman on a bluestone by the lake in front of him. This woman was Wang Yuer. At this moment, Wang Yuer was sitting on the bluestone, hugging her legs with both hands and curling up together. She looked at the lake in front of her with a lost expression. "Where is she?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and turned to look at Gong Sunbei. Gong Sunbei smiled and didn't explain. He went back the way he came and retreated to the lake shore. Wang Zicheng and the others looked at each other and turned back to the lake one after another. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. Obviously, these guys did it on purpose. This is a little interesting. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and also turned around, leaving Qin Feiyang behind. He didn't even look back as he rushed to Gong Sunbei's side. "Brother Wolf, you're not angry with us?" Barbarian Bull looked at White-Eyed Wolf and asked. "Why would I be angry? To tell you the truth, I just hope that little Qin Zi can be enlightened as soon as possible." White-Eyed Wolf smiled evilly. "Ah." Everyone was stunned, then shook their heads and smiled helplessly. He was indeed a person who wanted to see the world in chaos. On the lake, Qin Feiyang looked at Gong Sunbei and the others helplessly and then turned back to look at Wang Yuer again. That lonely figure and that melancholy look made one's heart ache. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, took off the mask on his face and walked over slowly. Although Qin Feiyang didn't hide it, Wang Yuer still didn't notice his arrival. It could be seen that her mind was not here at all. Finally, Qin Feiyang walked in front of Wang Yuer, but even so, Wang Yu still didn't notice him. It could be seen that she was in a mess now. As for the reason, it was obvious that it was because of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang sighed and walked to the side, standing on a bluestone and looking at the calm lake. He didn't disturb Wang Yu and kept silent. At this moment, the time and air here seemed to be still. What's going on? On the other side of the lake, White-Eyed Wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and Wang Yu suspiciously. Why were they just standing there? There was no movement at all. I don't know where Yu's mind is now. As for Qin Feiyang, Gongsun Bei shook his head and smiled bitterly. With this guy's EQ, he definitely doesn't know how to speak now, so he just stood there and kept silent. That's right, this blockhead's EQ is indeed worrying. Wang Zicheng nodded. Barbarian Bull, Viper, and the others also felt the same. Young Master's talent, strength, means, and intelligence were impeccable, but his EQ was the only thing that made people helpless. Chapter 2799. Time passed quietly. Why? Why did you come back? I've been trying very hard to forget you. Hundreds of years have passed and I think I've almost forgotten you, but why did you appear in front of me now, suddenly? Wang Yu murmured. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He lowered his head to look at Wang Yu, thinking that Wang Yu had noticed him and was talking to him. But when he looked at her, he realized that Wang Yu was talking to herself. Trying hard to forget me, Qin Feiyang muttered. That was to say, she hadn't forgotten him. But at Wang Yuanshan's funeral, hadn't they already made a clean break? And at that time, it was Wang Yu who said that she wanted to make a clean break with him. He thought that Wang Yu had really let go of him, but he didn't expect that she still had him in her heart. At this moment, Qin Feiyang finally understood what Gongsun Bei and the others meant. Wang Yu had a knot in her heart. And this knot had trapped her for hundreds of years. And he was the key to unlocking this knot in her heart. But then again, hundreds of years had passed and she still hadn't really let go of him. This was really a silly woman. What did Qin Feiyang do to deserve a woman's love? At this moment, Qin Feiyang felt like a scumbag. A good woman had been hurt by him like this. Although all this was not his fault, he couldn't help blaming himself. Alas! Qin Feiyang sighed in a low voice. Although the sigh was very soft, it pulled Wang Yu back from her daze. Wang Yu quivered and immediately looked up at Qin Feiyang. Why are you here? Immediately. She stood up, looking very flustered and didn't dare to look into Qin Feiyang's eyes. I've been here for a long time. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. A long time? Wang Yu was stunned and hurriedly asked, just now. I heard what you said just now. Qin Feiyang nodded. I heard everything. She lowered her head and retreated, looking even more flustered as she tried to avoid Qin Feiyang's gaze. She was completely unaware that she was currently standing on top of the bluestone. If she continued to retreat, she would fall down. Be careful. Qin Feiyang saw it and hurriedly reminded him. Ah. Wang Yu looked at Qin Feiyang inexplicably and was still stepping back. In the end, she lost her footing and fell backwards with a cry of surprise. Seeing that the situation was not good, Qin Feiyang quickly stretched out his arm, grabbed Wang Yu's wrist, and gently pulled her back. Wang Yu was dumbfounded. She had never thought that she would have the chance to be in close contact with this man, even if he was just holding her wrist. At this moment, her heart was trembling, and her face was distressed. She forcefully shook off Qin Feiyang and shouted, Go immediately, don't appear in front of me again, no. Don't appear in front of me again, and I will never see you again. Was she running away because of love? Or was she running away because of hatred? In fact, Qin Feiyang knew it in his heart. He believed that Wang Yu was also very clear in her heart. Qin Feiyang sighed secretly and said, "Calm down, okay?" Qin Feiyang's words completely ignited Wang Yuer's inner emotions. She roared, "Tell me, how can I calm down? I know that we can't go back to the past. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I hope that you can let go of yourself and live happily every day. I believe that not only me, but all the people who care about you, such as your parents and Gongsun Bei, hope that you can walk out of the past." Qin Feiyang said. "Live happily every day," Wang Yuer murmured, slowly squatted down, looked down at the lake, and whispered, "How can I live happily every day when my heart is dead?" "My heart is dead," Qin Feiyang was instantly enraged. He stepped forward and grabbed Wang Yuer's shoulder. He shouted, "You don't live for others, and you don't live for me. You live for yourself. Do you understand?" Wang Yuer looked up at Qin Feiyang's eyes and couldn't help but smile sadly. On one side is the family blood is thicker than water, and on the other side is the feelings that can't be let go. Can you understand this despair and powerlessness? In these hundreds of years, I have been forcing myself not to think about it, not to pay attention to it, to forget all of it, but is it really so easy to forget? The more I want to forget, the clearer I remember it. Every bit of it is like it happened yesterday. I want to use indifference to cover all of it, but who knows the real pain and helplessness in my heart? But this is not your fault, nor grandfather and father. I blame myself for being too incompetent." Wang Yuer shook her head, her face full of self-mockery. "I'm sorry, I really didn't expect to hurt you so deeply." Qin Feiyang sighed. He didn't expect that Wang Yuer's feelings for him were still as deep as back then. No. It was even deeper than back then. If he didn't stop it, he was afraid that she would continue to sink deeper and deeper. But how could he stop it? Feelings came from one's heart. Other than Wang Yuer herself, who could cut it off? If others tried to persuade her, it would probably be counterproductive. "You should go. Over the years, I have long been used to being alone. The more others persuade me, the more frustrated I feel. Let me be alone. I will be able to calm down after a while," Wang Yuer said in a low voice. But in her heart, she didn't want Qin Feiyang to leave. She longed for a warm embrace. But she knew that she couldn't do this. The figures of her grandfather, father, and mother appeared in her mind from time to time. Helplessness, despair, pain. They were like a curse, pressing down on her until she was about to suffocate and collapse. Qin Feiyang looked at her silently. Since all of this started because of him, let him end it completely so that both of them could be free. Phew. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, stepped forward, took Wang Yuer's hand, and said, "Take me to see your grandfather and parents." "What do you want to do?" Wang Yuer was stunned and quickly asked. "Propose marriage." Qin Feiyang said. "What? Propose marriage?" Wang Yuer was stunned, her face full of astonishment. "That's right. If I miss such a good woman like you, it may be the regret of my life." Qin Feiyang lowered his head, looked at Wang Yuer, and said with a smile. "Regret." Wang Yuer stared at Qin Feiyang in a daze. She didn't expect Qin Feiyang to suddenly say these words. Was she happy? Of course. There were countless nights in the past, she had yearned and fantasized about this scene. But in addition to being happy, she also had a trace of hesitation in her heart. It was too sudden and she was not prepared at all. Besides, would her grandfather, father, and mother agree? "Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Wang Yuer instinctively got up, but suddenly came back to her senses and shook off Qin Feiyang's hand again, shaking her head, "No." "Why not?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "You're just sympathizing with me. Besides, my grandfather and the rest will not agree. In this life, we are destined to be the most familiar strangers." Wang Yuer shook her head. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "You think I'm sympathizing with you? Aren't you?" Wang Yuer asked. "No. I'm serious. Speaking of which, it's quite funny. I've always thought that I'm a responsible man. But now I realize that I'm not. Because if I'm really a responsible man, I won't leave you alone in the forgotten continent and face all the pressure alone. Although I've been in the ancient realm all these years, looking at you now, I can imagine how you've spent all these years. I really don't want to make you sad again. Let's go and propose marriage. If they don't agree, I'll snatch you away from them." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at Wang Yuer with a gentle smile. Wang Yuer looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze and said, "Are these your heartfelt words?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Hearing this, Wang Yuer fell silent. "Why aren't you saying anything? Are you unwilling?" Qin Feiyang asked. No, of course I'm willing. I want to be with you even in my dreams, but I'm just afraid." Wang Yuer hurriedly shook her head. Qin Feiyang asked, "Afraid of your grandfather? Afraid of your parents?" "Yes." Wang Yuer nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at her deeply, and his divine sense rolled out, instantly enveloping the entire tower. Immediately after, 3 formless powers descended on 3 different locations in the main tower. The next moment, 3 figures appeared opposite Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer. These 3 people were Wang Su and Wang Yuer's parents. Looking at the current Wang Su, Qin Feiyang felt emotional. He was sallow and emaciated, looking extremely sloppy. His white hair was messy, his eyes were dim and lifeless, and his entire body was filled with the smell of alcohol. Indeed, as Gong Sun Bei said, he was no longer as elegant as before. Qin Feiyang. The 3 of them were suddenly detained here, and they were a little stunned. But immediately after, Wang Yuer's parents rushed to Wang Yuer's side, pushed Qin Feiyang away, and shouted, "What are you doing here?" Qin Feiyang, Wang Su looked at Qin Feiyang, and his turbid eyes were filled with hatred. "I want to marry you, her." Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 of them and said. "What?" The 3 of them froze and couldn't help but turn to look at Wang Yuer. Wang Yuer lowered her head, not daring to look at the 3 of them. "Don't even think about it. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to touch my granddaughter?" Wang Su came back to his senses and immediately roared. "I know that you still hate me for killing Wang Yuanshan, but that's another matter. Can you bear to see you, suffer like this for the rest of her life?" Qin Feiyang said. Wang Su said angrily, "It's not us who made you sad, it's you. Is that really the case? Think about it, if you didn't force her back then, would she choose to cut off all ties with me? Maybe we've already achieved the right result. In terms of age, you're all my elders. Logically speaking, you should be more sensible. But so many years have passed, what have you been doing? Not only did you not reflect on yourself, but you've been forcing the fault on me. The worst thing is that you've been pressuring her. She's your daughter and granddaughter. She's your closest kin. As parents and grandfathers, shouldn't you hope that she can live better and happier than anyone else?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. Chapter 2800. Shut up! Wang Su roared. His eyes were bloodshot as if he wanted to eat someone. "Did I touch your sore spot? Are you angry out of shame? Especially you. You used to be a highly respected old man. How did you become so unreasonable now?" Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Su and shouted coldly without mercy. Wang Su clenched his hands like a wild beast that was about to go crazy. "And you?" Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer's parents again and said, "Which parent in the world doesn't want their children to live a good life? But what about you? Just because of the little hatred in your heart, you forcefully restrained Wang Yuer. Do you think this is good for her? Wrong. You are selfish. To put it more bluntly, you don't deserve to be parents at all. Qin Feiyang looked at the two coldly. To be honest, he was also full of anger in his heart. He had already done his best for Wang Yuanshan's matter. Because he had let Wang Yuanshan go several times. It was Wang Yuanshan who was stubborn and kept challenging his bottom line. And the few times he let Wang Yuanshan go, it was for the sake of Wang Yuer and Wang Su. But the result? Not only did these people not appreciate it, but they also hated him to the core. What was this? Don't say that. Seeing Qin Feiyang scolding Wang Su and the other two like this, Wang Yuer was burning with anxiety. I'm telling the truth. If they really love you, then they shouldn't impose their own wishes on you. Let's talk about it later. I, Qin Feiyang, have always had a clear conscience no matter who it is. I never regret killing Wang Yuanshan. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Su and the other two and said, if you insist on blaming me, then I can only say that I overestimated you in the past. The three of them looked sullen. That's all I have to say. I don't want to say anything more. I'll take you away. Qin Feiyang grabbed Wang Yuer and stepped into the air. Wang Yuer's mother quickly stood in front of Qin Feiyang and said angrily, what right do you have to take her away? Why? Just because of what she has done for me, I can't let her continue to suffer like this. Since you can't take care of her, then I will take care of her. Qin Feiyang said with no expression. You, don't go too far. Wang Su gritted his teeth as he stared at Qin Feiyang. It's not that I'm bullying you. You're the ones who have placed your faces on the ground and trampled on them. Wang Su was so angry that he was out of breath. Of course. Whether Wang Yuer's heart knot could be untied or not depended on now. In his heart, Wang Yuer had always been like a sister. So seeing Wang Yuer like this all day, he also felt very sad. Once. He also tried to enlighten her, but it was to no avail. If Wang Yuer and Qin Feiyang could really be together, it would naturally be the most perfect ending. But if they couldn't be together, as long as she could untie the knot in her heart for many years and let her accept and face all this calmly, it would be a good ending. Please step aside. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer's mother and said. Looking at Qin Feiyang, Wang Yuer's mother had some fear in her eyes. Although Qin Feiyang was a junior, she was no match for him in terms of means and strength. She couldn't help but look at Wang Yuer. Since she didn't dare to do anything to Qin Feiyang, she could only put pressure on Wang Yuer. Wang Yuer lowered her head, and her painful face was full of struggle. Qin Feiyang sighed and said, I'm sorry to put you in a dilemma again. Wang Yuer looked up at Qin Feiyang, her face full of tears. Qin Feiyang raised his hand and gently wiped away Wang Yuer's tears. Then he looked at Wang Su and the other two and said, really, don't force her anymore. If there's anything, just come at me. Okay. I'll come at you. Wang Su couldn't bear it anymore. With a roar, he charged at Qin Feiyang like a wild beast, with murderous intent all over his body. Grandpa. Wang Yuer's face suddenly changed. Don't worry. Qin Feiyang smiled at Wang Yuer. But Wang Yuer wasn't worried about him. She was worried about Wang Su. Although she didn't know Qin Feiyang's current cultivation, she could imagine that with Qin Feiyang's talent, it must be far better than before. In the past, Wang Su was no match for Qin Feiyang, let alone now. This woman, Qin Feiyang, shook his head and looked up at Wang Su, with a cold light flashing in his eyes. Don't hurt my grandpa, please. Wang Yuer grabbed Qin Feiyang's arm and begged. Then aren't you afraid that he will hurt me? Qin Feiyang asked without looking back. Hurt you? Wang Yuer was slightly taken aback. She lowered her head and muttered, with your strength, how can grandpa hurt you? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. An aura emerged and gently pushed Wang Yuer away. Just by this aura, Wang Yue judged that her grandpa's strength was not at the same level as Qin Feiyang at all. The worry in her heart couldn't help but grow stronger. Wang Yue's parents were also very nervous. They watched Qin Feiyang grow up, so they were very clear about Qin Feiyang's character. If others didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If he was angered, even if the emperor was standing in front of him, he would dare to kill him. They were afraid that Qin Feiyang would be angry and have the intention to kill the old master. This is a bit bad. On the other side, the Spirit Queen whispered. Yes. Who doesn't know the temper of the young master? Wang Yuanshan's matter back then had already given Wang Su and Wang Yue enough face. After so many years, Wang Su still refuses to let go. With the young master's character, I'm afraid he will really be angry. Viper murmured. Gongsun Bei was also a little worried. Would they end up making a fool of themselves? In the blink of an eye, Wang Su had already rushed to the front of Qin Feiyang. His eyes were bloodshot. Obviously, he had lost his mind. At this moment, everyone's heart was in their throat. However, everyone thought that Qin Feiyang would be angry and have the intention to kill, but he didn't show any signs of making a move. Bang! Wang Su slapped on Qin Feiyang's chest. Puff! Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and his whole body retreated continuously. Everyone froze there. He didn't make a move. Was this Qin Feiyang? Was Qin Feiyang the kind of person who would stand there and take a beating? No. The white-eyed wolf frowned. What's wrong? Wang Zicheng was surprised. With little Qin Zi's cultivation, even if he stands still, Wang Su can't hurt him at all. But now, he is spitting out blood. The white-eyed wolf said in disbelief. Hearing this, they couldn't help but look at Qin Feiyang again. Scoundrel! Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf cursed. What now? Wang Zicheng and the others were taken aback by the white-eyed wolf. He must have given up all his defense. Otherwise, how could he be injured? The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Gave up all his defense. They were slightly stunned. Viper asked suspiciously, why did young master do this? How would I know? The white-eyed wolf glared at him. Viper smiled embarrassedly. Gongsun Bei glanced at the white-eyed wolf, looked up at Qin Feiyang, and then looked at Wang Yue. There was a trace of understanding in his eyes. There was also a trace of gratitude on his face. He murmured, thank you. Obviously, Gongsun Bei had already noticed Qin Feiyang's intention. Wang Su was also stunned by Qin Feiyang's attitude of not fighting back, but he didn't restrain himself because of this. He punched at Qin Feiyang again. Puff! Qin Feiyang spat out another mouthful of blood and took a few steps back. How could this be? Why didn't he fight back? Wang Yue murmured. Wang Yue's parents also looked confused. Was this really Qin Feiyang? Was he really not an impostor? They had serious doubts. Because this was too different from what they had expected. Do you think I will let you go if you don't fight back? No. Absolutely not. Blood for blood. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Wang Su roared in the sky. His face was full of hatred. With a clang, a combat sword appeared. Grandpa, stop. Wang Yue's face changed drastically. She quickly shouted. But seeing this, her parents immediately stepped forward and pulled Wang Yue from both sides. Father, mother, let go. If this goes on, Qin Feiyang will be killed by Grandpa. Wang Yue roared. He deserves to die. Wang Yue's father snorted coldly. Father, Wang Yue's body trembled and her face turned pale. Wang Su. I will destroy your Sea of Qi first. With a sword, he went straight to Qin Feiyang's Sea of Qi. Puff! All of a sudden, blood suddenly appeared. The combat sword sank into Qin Feiyang's Sea of Qi, which was shattered on the spot. What the hell is this bastard doing? The white-eyed wolf frowned. How could an ordinary combat sword pierce Qin Feiyang's Sea of Qi? Wasn't he giving up all his defense? One had to know. Qin Feiyang was not only at the ninth heaven realm, but his body had also been tempered by heaven tribulation. Let alone an ordinary battle sword, even an ordinary divine artifact would not be able to harm Qin Feiyang in the slightest. The white-eyed wolf couldn't figure out why Qin Feiyang gave up his defense and let Wang Su do whatever he wanted. Why didn't he fight back? Wang Yuer's parents looked at each other when they saw this. Who didn't know the importance of the Sea of Qi? How could Qin Feiyang not fight back when his Sea of Qi was shattered? It was too abnormal. Grandpa, no, I beg you, please stop. But Wang Yuer burst into tears and kept shouting at Wang Su. Her voice was almost hoarse. However, Wang Su turned a deaf ear to her. He raised his combat sword and chopped at Qin Feiyang's left hand again, his eyes full of madness. Crack! Qin Feiyang's left arm broke on the spot and blood gushed out. No, Grandpa, I beg you, please stop. Qin Feiyang, why didn't you fight back? At least hide. Wang Yuer was already shouting herself hoarse and her face was full of pain. God, what did I do wrong? Why did you torture me like this? Chapter 28:01. I really didn't expect that you'd really stand here and let me kill you. However, if you think this will make me sympathize with you, then you're wrong. Now, I'll send you to hell. Wang Su didn't notice the miserable Wang Yuer at all. His expression was getting crazier as the battle sword in his hand went straight for Qin Feiyang's glabella. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Su indifferently. He couldn't help but hate Wang Su in his heart. In the past, although Wang Su wanted to kill him, he never hated Wang Su at all. In fact, he even had a respectful attitude. But at this moment, looking at the stubborn Wang Su, the respect in his heart was gone. Boom! Wang Su's battle sword was about to enter Qin Feiyang's glabella, but at this moment, a terrifying aura erupted. But this wasn't Qin Feiyang's aura. It was Wang Yuer. And there was a destructive wave in this aura. Wang Su shuddered and hurriedly looked at Wang Yuer. This was because this wasn't an ordinary aura, but a self-explosion wave. Yuer, what are you doing? Wang Yuer's parents also had a change of expression and hurriedly looked at Wang Yuer and shouted. Qin Feiyang also slowly turned to look at Wang Yuer. At this moment, Wang Yuer stood in the void, a destructive aura rolling in all directions. The lake water tumbled and huge waves surged. The entire calming lake was trembling. Yuer, don't do anything stupid. Seeing this scene, Wang Su dropped the battle sword in his hand and hurriedly rushed towards Wang Yuer. It's really enough. I'm really tired too. Grandpa, mother, father, let me go. Wang Yuer looked at the three of them and said. Yuer, stop self-explosion, everything can be discussed. Wang Yuer's mother was extremely anxious. Promise me first, let go of your hatred. Although great-grandfather's death makes you very sad, it's not Qin Feiyang's fault in the first place. Why do you have to push the blame to him? You guys weren't so unreasonable in the past. Why have you all become like this now? Do you think that Qin Feiyang is standing there without moving because of guilt or uneasiness? No. He did it for me. He didn't want to see me continue to fall like this. He wanted to use this to wake me up. You all know his personality, and you are even more aware of his strength and methods. If it wasn't for me, do you all think that you would still be alive? He has already done enough for our family. Don't you understand? I just want to ask you, what do you want? Are you really going to force me to my death before you're willing to give up? Wang Yue roared. Wang Yue's mother nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, yes, yes, you're right. You're right. Stop it quickly. If you die, how can I live in the future?" "That's right. Stop. We promise you that we won't look for Qin Feiyang again. We won't force you again. Really. Take it as father begging you, don't do anything stupid," her father also said repeatedly. Wang Yue glanced at the two of them, then looked at Wang Su and said, "Grandpa, what about you?" Wang Su's face was gloomy. "Father, what are you still hesitating for? Say it quickly. Do you really want to see you die in front of you?" Wang Yue's parents urged. "As an outsider, I really want to say a few words. Sister Yu has really been living too hard these years. On one side is the person she wants to entrust her life to. On the other side is the person closest to her. If Wang Yuanshan's death is really Qin Feiyang's fault, then I won't say anything about what you're doing. I'll even support you. But this matter is Wang Yuanshan's fault from the beginning to the end. For such a person, you forced Sister Yu to become like this. Please ask yourselves, are you really a qualified father, a qualified mother, and a qualified grandfather? While you hate Qin Feiyang, why don't you reflect on yourself? Especially you, Wang Su. Back then, you were also at the miracle and knew everything. Ask yourself with your conscience, is this really Qin Feiyang's fault?" Gongsun Bei sighed softly and walked over step by step. Hearing these words, Wang Su and the other two were silent, and they finally realized the harm to Wang Yue. Stop. Gongsun Bei walked to Wang Yue and smiled. "Brother Gongsun." Wang Yue's momentum dissipated, and then she lay in Gongsun Bei's arms and cried bitterly. "Don't cry. Everything will be fine." Gongsun Bei patted Wang Yue's shoulder and comforted her softly. "Little Qin Zi, are you stupid? Just these small fries, I can send them to the Western Paradise with a flick of my finger, and they even made her like this. I think you're just itching for a beating." White-Eyed Wolf also flew over and scolded Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "What are you laughing at? Just looking at your brother makes me angry." White-Eyed Wolf glared at him and said angrily, "Why aren't you taking the Divine Life Pill?" Qin Feiyang shook his head, took out a Divine Life Pill and a Spiritual Sea Pill, and threw them into his mouth. His broken sea of qi and broken arm immediately began to repair. White-Eyed Wolf looked at Wang Su with an extremely unfriendly look and said, "Have you vented enough?" Hearing White-Eyed Wolf's tone, Wang Zicheng and the others' eyelids suddenly twitched. This brother wolf was not as easy to talk to as the young master. Wang Su looked at White-Eyed Wolf, his eyes flashing coldly. Boom! A monstrous ferocious aura suddenly rushed out of White-Eyed Wolf's body and instantly enveloped Wang Su and the other two. The three immediately felt a fatal crisis in their hearts. Enough. Qin Feiyang patted White-Eyed Wolf's head. "I didn't say I was going to kill them. I just wanted to show them our current strength." White-Eyed Wolf snorted and looked at the three. "With your poor cultivation, I can kill you thousands of times with just a breath." Speaking of this, White-Eyed Wolf paused and sneered, "So, not to mention that little Qin Zi is right, even if he is wrong, you can only bear with it." After that, White-Eyed Wolf withdrew his ferocious aura and looked at the three with disdain in his eyes. Seeing this, Wang Zicheng and the others couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Brother Wolf didn't go crazy, otherwise, who could stop him? Although White-Eyed Wolf's words were very strong and domineering, Wang Su and the other two didn't dare to do anything. Because White-Eyed Wolf's ferocious aura had almost cast a shadow on them. Qin Feiyang looked at the three and shook his head. "As you said, you all know me. I have been very polite to you, so I also hope this matter will end here." Wang Su was silent. Wang Yue's parents looked at each other and also fell silent. In fact, the reason is very simple. You hate me and even want to kill me, but it won't affect me at all, because I can completely ignore it. But I hope that you, can live a happier, more relaxed, and more free life. You are all her dearest people. If you really love her, you should think more about her. Qin Feiyang said. Alas! Hearing this, Wang Yuer's mother looked at Wang Yuer, who was crying in Gongsun Bei's arms, and couldn't help but sigh and say, forget it, forget it. Yes. Wang Yuer's father also nodded. Over the years, they didn't realize that some inadvertent restrictions and some self-righteous decisions, which they thought were for their daughter's good, had caused so much harm to her. How could they make up for this harm? Daughter, I'm sorry, we've never thought about your feelings and made you suffer so much. Don't worry, we won't force you to do anything in the future. Even if you really get together with Qin Feiyang, we won't stop you. As long as you're happy and happy. The couple walked behind Wang Yuer, their eyes full of self-blame and guilt. Mother, father, Wang Yuer's delicate body trembled, and she turned to look at the two of them. Her tears were even more uncontrollable. Hundreds of years. Although a few hundred years was just a blink of an eye to cultivators, to her, every day felt like a year. And now, it was finally over. You've suffered all these years. The woman raised her hand and tidied up the messy hair on Wang Yuer's forehead. No, no, Wang Yuer shook her head and threw herself into her mother's arms, crying non-stop. But this time was different. This time, it was tears of joy, tears of relief. Wang Zicheng looked at Wang Su and said with a smile, Old Master Wang, it's time for you to say something. After all, you're the head of the family. And you've seen how happy Yuer is now. I believe you don't want to see her again. Return to your previous state. Let us see your demeanor and elegance back then. We've always believed that you're a sensible old man. Barbarian Bull and the others also spoke. Wang Su looked at everyone present. Not only Wang Zicheng and the others, but even Gongsun Bei and Wang Yuer's parents looked at Wang Su encouragingly. Wang Su, don't make us look down on you. The monkey-faced old man and the hook-nosed old man, who had been silent, also spoke at this time. Wang Su looked at the two of them, then at everyone, and finally at Wang Yuer. Wang Yuer also looked at him with anticipation. Wang Su took a deep breath and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. All right, let's end this matter here. But remember, I'm not doing this because I'm afraid of you. I'm doing this for you's sake. Qin Feiyang smiled. Was this important? Of course not. As long as these grudges could be resolved and Wang Yuer could be reborn. And, if you want to get married, it'll never happen unless I'm dead. After saying that, Wang Su turned around and left without looking back. Everything is fine now. Why are you still stopping them? If you want me, we should immediately choose an auspicious day and hold their marriage. Maybe before we leave, we can even give birth to a fat boy for you. The white-eyed wolf was displeased. What are you shouting for? Qin Feiyang secretly glared at it. The white-eyed wolf said in surprise, didn't you say that you wanted to propose marriage? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Gongsun Bei secretly laughed. Brother Wolf, you don't understand this. What? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. The marriage proposal is just a fuse used to ignite the anger of Wang Su and the others. Gongsun Bei transmitted his voice. Fuse. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. That's right. Wang Su and the others hate Qin Feiyang to begin with. How will they react when Qin Feiyang suddenly proposes to marry you? They'll definitely be very angry. If they're angry, they'll naturally lose control and attack Qin Feiyang. And this is Qin Feiyang's purpose. He wants to make use of this to make Yu's inner emotions completely erupt. After all, Yu has always been deeply in love with Qin Feiyang. Seeing Qin Feiyang being beaten up like this, she definitely can't control herself. And the result is as you saw, using self-destruction to threaten Wang Su and the other two. Let's talk about Wang Su and the other two. What do they care about the most? Of course, it's you, her. Can they be indifferent when they see you, or self-destruct? Definitely not. They'll stop and persuade her. At this time, you will also say what she's been hiding in her heart. In the end, when all of us stand out to help persuade them, they can't help but reflect on themselves. Why did they come to this point today? As long as they reflect, they'll naturally be able to find the root of the problem and realize the harm they've caused to you, or over the years. Then, this grudge can be resolved. Gongsun Bei explained secretly. I see. The white-eyed wolf suddenly understood and asked suspiciously, wait, why do you say it can be resolved? Of course, this depends on Wang Su and the other two. If they insist on having their own way and hate Qin Feiyang to the end, it naturally can't be resolved. Fortunately, the three of them haven't been blinded by hatred and let all of this finally come to an end. Gongsun Bei smiled with relief. This was not only a knot in Wang Yu's heart but also in his. He had always regarded Wang Yu as his younger sister. Seeing Wang Yu getting more and more depressed, he naturally felt uncomfortable in his heart. Now that Wang Yu was free, of course, he was relieved. Chapter 2802. Dust settled. White-eyed Wolf pursed his lips and said, what kind of dust settled? Only when they get married will it really be dust settled. Marriage, Gongsun Bei looked at Qin Feiyang and Wang Yu. If they could really get married, it would really be a perfect ending. However, even if Wang Su agreed, Qin Feiyang probably wouldn't have this idea. Although Qin Feiyang had tried to accept Yu back then and might have some feelings for her in his heart, hundreds of years had passed. Hundreds of years were enough for Qin Feiyang to forget this little bit of feelings. As expected, Qin Feiyang's current attitude towards Yu should only be that of a pure friend. So it was almost impossible for them to get married. He only hoped that Yu wouldn't take Qin Feiyang's marriage proposal too seriously. Thinking of this, Gongsun Bei was inexplicably worried again. If Yu took it seriously, wouldn't Qin Feiyang be in a dilemma? If Qin Feiyang refused, wouldn't it hurt Yu again? Thinking about it carefully, he felt that this matter seemed to have become complicated again. Wang Zicheng and the others noticed Gongsun Bei's expression at this moment and asked suspiciously, what are you thinking about? You look uneasy. Gongsun Bei sighed softly and secretly expressed his worries. Don't say it. There's really this possibility. Wang Zicheng and the others couldn't help but shudder when they heard this. At the same time, Wang Yu's parents also looked at Wang Yu worriedly. But the problem they were worried about was different from the problem Gongsun Bei and the others were worried about. They were worried about Wang Su's attitude. Wang Su directly said that the two were not allowed to get married unless he died. This undoubtedly cut off Wang Yu's thoughts. Of course, they knew their daughter. She had a soft spot for Qin Feiyang and could even be described as infatuation. Now that Wang Su said this, they were worried that their daughter would take things too hard and do something stupid. In fact, as parents, they didn't intend to object now. As long as their daughter liked it. But facing Wang Su, they had no choice. Wang Yu looked at her parents and smiled. Mother, father, you don't have to worry. The couple was stunned. At this moment, the smile on his daughter's face was as bright as when she was young. Obviously. His daughter had already untied the knot in her heart and regained a new life. But that's not right. Hearing Wang Su's words, shouldn't his daughter be discouraged and sad? Why did it seem like he didn't care at all? Wang Yu smiled at the couple and then looked at Qin Feiyang. The smile on her face was like a spring breeze. Her entire body was glowing, and her charm was even greater than before. This was the real Wang Yu. One was devastatingly beautiful, while the other was an enchantress. However, Qin Feiyang did not have any evil thoughts in his heart. Indeed, as Gongsun Bei had thought, after hundreds of years, he only had friendship with Wang Yuer now. Wang Yuer suddenly said, "Do you think I will pester you?" Ugh! Qin Feiyang was astonished. Isn't this too direct? If I take your words seriously, and if my grandfather doesn't object, will you really marry me? Wang Yuer asked. Qin Feiyang said with a wry smile, "You're asking a question that will kill you." Wang Yuer couldn't help laughing at the moment. After thinking for a while, she said, "Well, I'll change a question that's easier to answer. Have you ever liked me before?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and nodded, yes. He didn't want to say something against his will. Although he had been moved by Wang Yuer at first, as time went by, he did have feelings for Wang Yuer in his heart. After all, love grows with time. Besides, in the face of such a good woman, even a stubborn stone would be moved. Is there really one? Wang Yuer asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's enough. Let's get along like good friends in the future. Wang Yuer smiled. Okay. A smile also appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. Perhaps in the eyes of White-Eyed Wolf, this ending was not good, but in his opinion, there was nothing better. Because whether it was Wang Yuer or himself, they could be completely free from this love tribulation. Gongsun Bei looked at Qin Feiyang and asked with a smile, "Then let's go." Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Wang Yuer and said with a smile, "Let's meet at Longfeng House tonight. Do you have time?" Wang Yuer said, "If you invite me, I'll definitely go." Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly and said, "Well, I officially invite you. Let's talk about it tonight. After all, I'm a busy man now. It depends on whether I have time or not." Wang Yuer said playfully. Qin Feiyang couldn't help laughing, nodded to Wang Yuer's parents with a smile, and then turned to leave. Gongsun Bei and the others looked at each other and turned to follow with smiles on their faces. Looking at the disappearing figures of the group, Wang Yuer's parents sighed for a moment. Then, the two of them looked at Wang Yuer and asked, "Daughter, are you really okay?" "I'm really fine. After this incident, I've thought it through. Feelings can't be forced. Although I like him, he doesn't like me. If we force ourselves to be together, we'll both get hurt in the end. Since that's the case, why should I force it? It's better to open up and bless him to find his true happiness." Wang Yuer said. Hearing this, the couple's hearts that had been hanging in the air finally relaxed. Wang Yuer looked up at the sky and said, "Father, Mother, I want to go out for a walk." "Where to?" The couple was stunned. "All these years, I've been closing myself off and haven't seen the outside world. Now that the knot in my heart has been untied, I want to go out and take a look." "Where to? I don't know either." "Wherever I go, I'll go." Wang Yuer laughed. "It's good to go out for a walk. However, you can't stay outside for too long. After all, you're now the Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall and have a heavy responsibility." The couple said. "The Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall," Wang Yuer whispered and laughed. "After I leave, you can look for Brother Gongsun and ask him to choose another Hall Master." "What? Choose another one? What do you mean?" The couple was bewildered. "It's not easy to be free. Of course, I have to let myself relax completely. We'll talk about it later. Status and power have never been what I'm after." Wang Yuer smiled faintly. The couple looked at each other and nodded with a smile. "All right, as long as you're happy." Back to Qin Feiyang. After leaving Calming Lake, he found a place to wash off the bloodstains on his body and put on a clean set of clothes. He felt refreshed. Gongsun Bei looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Thank you." "Thank me. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and asked suspiciously, "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for helping Sister Yuer untie the knot in her heart," Gong Sunbei said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "This matter happened because of me. If there's anyone to thank, I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for taking care of her all these years. I see her as my sister. It's my duty to take care of her." Gong Sunbei shook his head. "Can you guys not be so polite? She's not an outsider." Wang Zicheng was speechless. Huh, Qin Feiyang and Gong Sunbei looked at each other and could not help but laugh. After strolling for a while, Qin Feiyang suddenly asked, "How's Pei now?" "Him. Pretty good. And all these years, with his own ability, he has managed the Divine Python tribe well. Excluding the Sky Tiger tribe, the current Divine Python tribe is already the strongest tribe on the Forgotten Continent." Gong Sunbei said. "It's all within my expectations." Qin Feiyang smiled. He had always admired Pei Yi and expected that this person would definitely have amazing achievements. As for the Sky Tiger tribe, needless to say, Yan Wei used to be his subordinate, and because of this, the Sky Tiger tribe's status rose. No matter how strong the other tribes were, they would not dare to be presumptuous in front of the Sky Tiger tribe. "To be honest, I want to kidnap this kid to the main tower now. If he joins, I believe that the main tower will definitely become stronger in the future." Gong Sunbei smiled. "That shouldn't be possible. After all, the Divine Python tribe is his home." Qin Feiyang said. "That's what I'm thinking. But sooner or later, we have to find time to talk to him," Gong Sunbei said. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and asked, "Why don't we go and see him now?" "Now?" Gong Sunbei was stunned. "Although I know many people on the Forgotten Continent, there are only a few who left the deepest impression. Pei Yi is one of them. It's rare for me to come back. I have to go and see this old friend." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right then." Gong Sunbei opened a teleportation gate and a group of people filed in. The next moment, they descended above a mountain range. In the mountains, ancient trees towered into the sky and ferocious beasts ran rampant. There was a huge city in front that emitted an ancient aura. That was the Divine Python tribe. The monkey-faced old man said, "If you don't want to cause a commotion, let Wang Zicheng go and get Pei Yi here." "Why me? I'm not an errand boy." Wang Zicheng was displeased. "You have a problem with me just going to get Pei Yi?" The monkey-faced old man was stunned. "Of course. Viper is here and so is Barbarian Bull. Why don't you let them go?" "Old man, do you think I'm easy to bully?" Wang Zicheng said angrily. The monkey-faced old man was speechless. "Calling someone over is bullying me? What logic is this? You have so many opinions. Seems like I haven't taught you a lesson in a long time. You're itching for a beating." The white-eyed wolf went forward and slapped him with his paw. There was no suspense. Wang Zicheng wailed and flew towards the Divine Python tribe like a shooting star. When Big Barbarian Bull and the rest saw this scene, they all had gloating faces. "Why don't you take a look at who's here? How dare you be so arrogant? You're just asking for it. Humph. You're just relying on the fact that you're stronger than me. Just you wait. Once I catch up to you and surpass you, I'll teach you a lesson." Wang Zicheng muttered under his breath, his face full of displeasure. Chapter 2803. Whoosh. Soon, Wang Zicheng flew out of the Divine Python tribe with a young man. The man was handsome and looked about 25 or 26 years old. He was wearing a white robe and his figure was tall and straight, exuding an elegant aura. That's right. He was Pei Yi. A few hundred years had passed. His aura was even more outstanding. No matter where he was the brightest star. But at this moment, Pei Yi looked at Wang Zicheng with a trace of doubt and asked, "Who are you going to see? Why are you being so mysterious? You'll know soon." Wang Zicheng then pointed to the mountain in front and said, "Look, they're all there." Pei Yi looked up and saw Qin Feiyang and the others standing at the edge of the cliff. However, at this moment, Qin Feiyang turned around and could only see their backs. Besides, he had completely concealed his aura. The white-eyed wolf was nowhere to be seen. Where was he hiding? Ha! Looking at Gong Sun Bei, the monkey-faced old man, the hook-nosed old man, and the bull, Pei Yi's eyes were full of shock. What's going on? The big shots of the main pagoda actually came to the divine python tribe. Pei Yi hurriedly flew over and landed in front of Gong Sun Bei. He looked at Qin Feiyang's back view and felt that it seemed a little familiar. However, he didn't think too much about it and hurriedly looked at Gong Sun Bei and asked, "Brother Gong Sun, did something big happen?" "Something big?" Gong Sun Bei was stunned. "Otherwise, why would you all come to the divine python tribe and be so mysterious?" Pei Yi said. Gong Sun Bei smiled secretly and nodded with an extremely serious expression. "There is indeed something big." Pei Yi's heart skipped a beat and he asked in a deep voice, "What is it?" "Someone wants to see you. This person is not to be trifled with and seems to have a feud with you." Gong Sun Bei said. Barbarian Bull and the others couldn't help but blush when they saw Gong Sun Bei speaking as if he was telling the truth. "See me?" Pei Yi was slightly stunned and asked, "Who?" "Him." Gong Sun Bei pointed at Qin Feiyang. Pei Yi looked at Qin Feiyang again, only to find that he did look rather familiar. "Brother Pei, I'm the one who's here to cause trouble for you." Qin Feiyang chuckled and turned around slowly to look at Pei Yi. Ugh! Staring at Qin Feiyang's face, Pei Yi was dumbfounded. "Brat, take this." It was also at this moment. The white-eyed wolf hollered coldly and leaped out from a bush on the mountainside. It swiped its paw at Pei Yi. Pei Yi frantically turned to look at her, only to be dumbfounded. What was going on? If he remembered correctly, they seemed to be Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. But didn't they go to the ancient realm long ago? Although white-eyed wolf seemed menacing, he suddenly braked when he was near Pei Yi and draped his arm around Pei Yi's neck. He chuckled and said, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" "This, you guys." Pei Yi glanced at white-eyed wolf and then looked at Qin Feiyang, who was standing opposite him. He could not react at all. "Why do all of you have this reaction when you see us? I know you miss us very much, but can't you calm down?" The white-eyed wolf was helpless. "This is not a matter of being calm. You guys appeared too suddenly. At least let us know in advance." Pei Yi smiled bitterly and looked at Gong Sun Bei and the others. He said helplessly, "And you guys, you actually joined forces to scare me." How could he remain calm when he suddenly saw his old friends whom he had not seen for years standing in front of him? Haha, Gong Sun Bei and the others could not help but laugh. "How is it? Are you doing well now?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Pei Yi took a deep breath and said with a smile, "Thanks to you, everything is fine." "What has it got to do with me?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Of course it has something to do with me. We're friends. Because of this, Brother Gongsun, as the chief tower master, will naturally take special care of the divine python tribe." Pei Yi smiled. "Don't say that. If outsiders hear this, they'll think that I'm giving special treatment." Gongsun Bei shook his head and smiled. "Huh," Pei Yi laughed and looked at Qin Feiyang. He asked, "Why did you come back?" "After so many years, I missed you guys, so I came back to visit." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Come back to visit?" Pei Yi was slightly stunned. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and asked, "In other words, you guys are still going to leave?" Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. All right. For major figures like you, Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent aren't big enough for you. Pei Yi shook his head and smiled. You're making fun of us. What big shots. We're just ordinary people. I envy you. You're carefree and carefree. When you're free, you can even get together with a group of old friends to drink tea and chat. How great is that? Qin Feiyang said. There's nothing to be envious about. Because that's how life is. When you're envious of others, others are also envious of you. Besides, our situations and pursuits are different. Naturally, the paths we take are different. Pei Yi smiled. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. Are the two of you interesting? It's not easy for you guys to get together. Why are you guys talking about such incomprehensible principles? The white-eyed wolf glared at the two of them. Huh, Qin Feiyang and Gong Sunbei looked at each other and laughed. Pei Yi asked, how about it? Shall we take a walk in the tribe? Forget it, I don't want to cause a stir. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. What should we do then? I still want to talk to you and have a few drinks. Pei Yi said. We'll have a gathering at Longfeng House tonight. Let's have a few drinks then. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. So you've already made plans. Pei Yi nodded in realization. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, that's why I specially came to invite you. I wonder if Brother Pei will do me the honor. You rascal, Pei Yi shook his head and laughed. Even if he didn't, he would still take the initiative to visit Qin Feiyang when he knew that he would be at Longfeng House tonight. This was because he had always treated Qin Feiyang as a true friend, one that didn't have any beneficial relationship with him. This kind of friend was the purest. All right then, we'll go to other places and wait for you at Longfeng House tonight. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Okay. Pei Yi nodded. Also, Qin Feiyang said again. Go ahead. Pei Yi smiled. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and a crystal meridian and a spirit meridian appeared. What's this? Pei Yi was surprised. This is a crystal meridian and a spirit meridian. It'll be of great help to your cultivation. Take it as a token of appreciation between friends. Don't mind. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Mind? Pei Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. How can I mind what you give me? However, although I don't know what the crystal meridian and spirit meridian are for, I can tell at a glance that they're not ordinary items. I'm really a little. Before Pei Yi could finish, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said with a smile, since we're friends, don't stand on ceremony with me. Besides, I've already given you 10 crystal meridian and spirit meridian. Since you've already said so, if I still refuse, I'll seem too pretentious. Okay, then I'll accept it. Pei Yi nodded. There's more. Qin Feiyang took out a legendary divine artifact and a supreme divine art. He smiled and said, this is for you too. This, Pei Yi looked at the divine art and divine artifact and said, I'm a little flattered that you're giving me these gifts as soon as you come back. Enough. Don't be like a girl. This is a legendary divine artifact and a supreme divine artifact. It's more than enough to be the most precious treasure of the divine python tribe. White-eyed Wolf said. Okay, okay. Pei Yi nodded and took the divine artifact and the divine art. He said with a smile, I won't say any words of gratitude. I'll keep it in mind. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, also, when I leave, I'll leave behind all the pills that can unlock the door of potential. When the time comes, you can go to the great Qin Empire and get them from my father. Then I definitely won't stand on ceremony. Pei Yi smiled. Pei Yi's door of potential was not fully open because Qin Feiyang couldn't open the last few pages of the Pill Sutra at that time. Okay, let's meet again tonight. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Pei Yi nodded. Gong Sun Bei looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, then where are we going next? Let's go to the city, but let's keep a low profile and not cause a sensation. Qin Feiyang said. Gong Sun Bei smiled and said, then let's all change our appearances. Let's go. All of a sudden, everyone took out the illusory pills, including the monkey-faced old man and the hook-nosed old man. After changing their appearances, the group opened the portal and headed to the Divine City. The Divine City was the largest city in the Central Divine Kingdom. For example, the Trading Pavilion and the Dragon Phoenix House were all located in the Divine City. After Qin Feiyang and the others left, Pei Yi shook his head and said with a smile, I didn't expect that guy to come back. Then, he raised his head and looked at the crystal vein and spirit vein floating in the void, his eyes full of curiosity. Then, he looked at the legendary divine artifact again. Legendary? Was it very strong? He was curious and dripped blood on it to claim ownership. Then, he grabbed it in his hand and tried to swing it at the mountains and rivers in front of him. Boom! Crack! The mountains and rivers in front of him immediately began to collapse and sink. It was like a scene of doomsday. This, Pei Yi was greatly taken aback by the sight. This was too terrifying. It had such power even before it was awakened. If it was awakened, wouldn't it destroy the world? Patriarch, what's going on? The commotion also alarmed the people of the Divine Python tribe. A group of people flew out, thinking that it was a strong enemy, but when they saw that only Pei Yi was there, they were all puzzled. It's okay, it's okay. Pei Yi hurriedly waved his hand, looked down at the divine artifact in his hand, and muttered, this is really a big gift. To be honest. Although he had known Qin Feiyang for many years, he had never really helped Qin Feiyang with anything. In other words, the relationship between the two of them was very ordinary. If it was someone else, they could only be considered as a very ordinary friend at most. But Qin Feiyang first gave him the pill to unlock the door of potential, and now he gave him these divine artifacts. Their friendship was really higher than the sky and thicker than the earth. It was rare to have such a close friend in life. This friendship must be cherished.